7 a.m. Wednesday, April 9th. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Glad you're with us. Lots to get to today. Talk some college football as we turn the page from college basketball. More spring activities coming up this weekend. We will talk to one head coach about it as Brent Key with us at 8 a.m. this morning. Just get his thoughts on how it's going to be handled, what's going to be different about it, what they expect from it moving forward, and then just a little bit about his team, which I feel like there are some things that are interesting about that people are kind of ignoring. Now, there are some talent that was lost from that team. Obviously, Auburn going to benefit from that with Eric Singleton Jr., but Auburn is another team that is going to be on the field, practice field, showcase field this weekend. When we go to Auburn, Greg, is there something that you look at that you say would like to try to learn about this football team, would like to try to get out of whatever it is they put on the field or whatever they show this weekend that could give me an indication of what that team might be this fall?
Well, I'm pretty optimistic about them this year. I think they got a chance to be pretty good. So I'll be really curious to see how the quarterback position is progressing. And I'm very interested in the defense. To be honest, there's a few pieces that need to be replaced, so I'll be paying pretty close attention to all three levels on that side of the ball.
It's interesting when you look at the defense because I think it exceeded expectations last year, and I'm not really sure where I am on it this year. There are a couple players I'm pretty excited about that I like that I think could be really good. There are a couple spots, couple individuals that I think maybe have some confidence that are built around them that I'm not 100% sure what they're going to be. They got good reps out of the portal last year. They got good help from some guys that they brought in. And one of the things that makes me a little bit nervous about this Auburn football team is what they got out of the portal last year from a leadership perspective and from a maturity perspective. And I think it was needed on the team, in the locker room, around the practice fields, just in the facility. They needed those kind of guys to go out there and sort of take command. Jaron Thompson was one of those guys. Keandre Lambert-Smith was one of those guys. They added that. And you lose some of it this year, and you wonder, are you going to be able to get as much of that back from some of the newcomers going into this season as you did last season?
I think that's a big question mark, but that's kind of the world that we live in. One year you would have strong culture, the next year you might not. And it's not a reflection on the overall health of the program. It's just the personalities that you happen to bring in that year. And I think everyone's kind of dealing with that. Yeah, you had some really good personalities last year, some guys that kind of set the tone, that elevated their position group and in many ways elevated the team. But that is something that probably shouldn't be taken for granted because that's not necessarily a guarantee on an annual basis that you'll have that type of guy.
And you look, too, it's just, with all the turnover, you're going to have some of it every year, but now just more than ever before, different faces, different type players, and guys that don't get to know each other as well. They haven't been through as many workout sessions. They haven't, gone home to another kid's home for spring break or for Christmas break or Thanksgiving, whatever it is. Like, they haven't gotten to know those guys. They haven't hung out with them. And there's less wherewithal about the other individuals on the team. So there's less, I hate to say it like this, but there's less care because you don't know. Yeah. You haven't had time to build up that equity to where you do want to put your heart and soul into somebody and do anything you can for them because you just hadn't been around them. So I think it's a part of this that when you get that strong leadership in, I kind of use the Cam Ward example because I think he is sort of the far end of the spectrum of what a guy can come in and do. Now, was he talented? Did he complete passes? Yes. Does he change things with his ability? Yes. But I just I try to state it often because I don't think people understand what kind of individual he was and how demanding he was and how he held guys accountable. It's tough to get that with anybody that's been in your system for 4, 5, 8 years. But you get a guy that comes in and he's that day one, it's very different. So finding those kind of guys becomes, I don't know, maybe more important. Just that, hey, if you're going to be a 3-month rental, a 6-month rental, a 1-year rental, like we need more than just throwing passes or catching passes from you. Like, you got to get in there and get some other guys going.
Yeah. I think but a lot of guys, like you reference, it's a little bit of a defense mechanism. And I don't blame anybody for feeling the way they feel. As crazy as that may sound, I think it's a defense mechanism because, man, it's hard to go all in at a place where I don't have that built up appreciation. Because if I go all in and we fail, it's a reflection on me. If I don't, then maybe I can at least, save face by kind of saying, well, it's a hard situation for me. I can make an excuse as to why it didn't work out. I think it's a tough spot. I'm not going to lie. If you rely so heavily on portal players, your culture will not be good. Last year, look at Ole Miss as an example. Not saying they had bad culture. but Jackson Dart was a great leader, was he not? I mean, excellent. A guy that was universally praised for his leadership and work ethic. And even he couldn't get all those guys rowing in the same direction at Ole Miss over the course of multiple years. So I think that's an example. I mean, it's hard. It's just hard to get everybody on board. It really is.
Yeah, it's tough to think about it that way. A lot of teams will be taking the field. I don't know if you want to refer to it as practice or a game or what. We'll talk about some today. We mentioned Alabama a little bit yesterday. We'll spend more time on them. LSU will be out there this weekend. Matt Moscona is going to join us in 10 minutes to discuss what we should expect, what we should get, who we should be watching, what we may learn. The national champions, Ohio State Buckeyes, will be out there this weekend. Florida, Georgia, we'll talk about today. Oklahoma is a team that I think is very interesting. We kind of mentioned them yesterday. Tennessee, Vandy, Notre Dame, Syracuse. Locally, you'll have not just Alabama and Auburn, but South Alabama, Troy, UNA, Alabama A&M will all be sharing some sort of a spring contest or game or get-together or showcase or sharing of football-related activities on the field this weekend. So we'll try to discuss some of those, try to get to all of those at some point this week before we roll into the actual event this weekend. And we mentioned LSU just a little bit yesterday. There are more reasons to be excited about this team than to be concerned about this team, but I didn't get to your concerns with this team really yesterday of what you look at and say, that has a real chance of holding this team back. That's a part of the LSU football team that they might not be able to overcome. And there is one more portal window. There are a couple of guys that could be added for all these teams, all these programs, and hell, there could be guys that are gone that you lose that could actually hurt your team also. But from an LSU perspective, what do you look at and say, this is the part that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get over mentally of putting them in the college football playoff, maybe pushing for a national title?
Well, I really like LSU this year. First of all, I think they can win the whole thing for sure. Lack of a run game, one. Offensive line continuity isn't even close to what it was last year, and then maybe the defense in the secondary. I think they're just really thin. I really think this group has been thin for some time. And I think it'd be helpful if maybe a guy or two emerged just to provide some depth. So those are probably the two things. I mean, how many years in a row now has LSU been an injury away from just catastrophic situation? I mean, it feels like it's been a while since that's been the case. So if they are, for whatever reason, healthy all season long, which feels unlikely, then great, we're cooking. If they're not, yikes. You know what I'm saying?
Could be troublesome. And losing both tackles that played good football a year ago, obviously one that is potentially going to be the first offensive tackle, maybe the first offensive lineman off the board here in less than a month in the NFL draft, that's not going to be an easy thing to repair. And then it wasn't just those two that are going to be gone off your offensive line that had some points that they were a little bit shaky a year ago. I think a lot of that was due to injury and having to move guys around. Garrett Dellinger gave you good reps inside. Miles Frazier gave you good reps inside. They're also going to be gone. Mason Taylor was of assistance, I'll say. I don't think anybody would ever look at him and say he was some sort of a devastating blocker or in line with George Kittle as to be, that kind of a guy physically. But he was somebody at the line of scrimmage that offered some help, and you're going to have to replace him also. I kind of like what they did at tight end, to be honest with you. I'm not allowed to say that Bauer Sharp is a slightly improved football player over the past calendar year because we'll be attacked for that. But you go get Donovan Green from Texas A&M, who is not going to be your sleek route runner, which what Bauer Sharp kind of is. He's a little bit more inline, more physical, can help you from a stature perspective. And then I know Tre'Davious Green was somebody they had a lot of excitement about, somebody that they looked at. They kind of used him in some goal line situations last year, threw him some jump balls.
He was great in the red zone.
Yeah, 6'7", 245. I don't think he's ready to be your inline blocker just yet, but you went and got the guy that you kind of need there physically. And like you said before, I don't think you win a national championship doing this. You said this yesterday, but if you're going to continue to refuse to run the ball, then go get a Tre'Davious Green that you can lob the football up to, and go get a Bauer Sharp that can beat, linebackers and safeties in routes, and then just throw them the football. But they did go get that other guy in Donovan Green that could maybe add a little bit more physicality to the line of scrimmage and help that group out.
I think that's necessary. Just as a little bit of a hammer and a guy that can be at least a bit of a force in the run game. So I think they're gonna. The problem is they don't have great running back depth either. And they last year had this challenge. Remember they had, gosh, what, 2 guys get banged up in the running back room early on. But last year it was like a bad dream for running backs in the preseason. Everybody got banged up. A&M lost 1 or 2. Texas lost 1 or 2. LSU lost 1 or 2. A handful of teams did. So if they can stay healthy at running back, they got some guys. I mean, Caden Durham's got a chance to be a really good player, but staying healthy at that spot is also of the utmost importance.
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, I think Caleb Jackson has a lot of ability. Caden Durham, we've seen him appear to be special at times, but then there are other parts of it that just the light doesn't come on the way that you need it to. And we spent a lot of time talking about that LSU defense yesterday. There are pieces of it that can get you really excited, and it's one that is built to create havoc, and they have havoc creators on that side of the football. Now, as far as being at home and playing things the way that you need to be, being sound and fundamentally sound and in the right places at the right times, that doesn't appear to be a strength of it now. But if you can create enough havoc, that might not need to be exactly what you are. Alabama has been on the practice field this week and scrimmaging over the weekend. Head coach Kalen DeBoer had this to say about where his quarterbacks stand as of today.
It was, I don't want to say it was even across the board, but they all kind of got their shot with the 1s and 2s, especially just because they're older. Keelan's doing a great job, but with Ty and Austin, Keelan definitely works in with the 2s. He'll get 1 reps from time to time, but that's no indication of really where we feel he's at. He's killing it. He's doing a great job. You can see when he's out there, he's getting more and more comfortable moving the ball down the field. When there's a throw to be made, he'll make the throw, that's for sure. So just the learning curve, I think, that comes along with being young, but those other 2 guys, a little bit more, as far as understanding the offense, and you're trying to continue to install things, and they have a grasp of the basics from day one, so you can do just a few more things. But, they're all 3, making throws, making some big-time throws.
Is there anything that you hear there, Greg, that should be the takeaway for Alabama fans as it concerns the quarterback position?
Yeah, that I think if your hopes are for Keelan Russell to be the starting quarterback day one, I just think it's unlikely. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Just I think shelve your emotions on the matter. Can he be the guy as the season progresses? Sure. I mean, I think I'm not sure there's anybody that's really pushing back on that he is probably the most God-given talent amongst the 3. I think everyone probably is willing to acknowledge that, but the talent has to measure up to the productivity and the production and the efficiency. And if the talent doesn't quite yet get to that point, then we're chasing our tail. I think it's pretty obvious. All right. I think if the staff in a perfect world, you would have the veteran go out and take control of the job. Ty Simpson has been given that opportunity. He's the veteran. If he goes and just secures it and said, this is my team, it's mine, then great. But if he doesn't, then Austin Mack becomes a factor. And I think Austin Mack has a really, really good ability of throwing the ball downfield. And we know that this staff really likes that. I mean, they brought him from Washington to be that guy that can present that downfield threat. So I think the staff really has 3 good options here. I think in a perfect world, you have a veteran guy that goes and says, this is mine, takes it and runs. That hasn't happened. That didn't happen 2 years ago when the staff thought it was going to be Ty Simpson that was going to secure it, lock it down, and then take off. So maybe the light goes on for him at some point. But I think the longer this battle goes, the more intriguing it gets. If one guy doesn't clearly leave the field behind, do you see a 2-quarterback system? Do you see the freshman Keelan Russell, who has the highest ceiling, start to get sprinkled in? These are all questions that I think are fair to be asked. So I'm excited to see how it plays out. I think it's also important to remember that this staff has been through this before. Michael Penix was not named the starting quarterback at Washington until 1 week before the season. And they had an incumbent starter, a guy that had some talent. Dylan Morris was his name. Had started the year before at Washington. Didn't have a great year, but didn't have a horrendous year by any stretch from the quarterback position. So this is not uncommon for the staff to kind of drag their feet on this, and I don't blame them. I would do the exact same thing because you got to get this one right, and you got to hope that the best guy on game day is also the best guy in practice, but that's not necessarily a guarantee.
Absolutely. So a lot of questions surrounding Alabama, surrounding Auburn. We'll get to some of those. LSU also, and Matt Moscona does radio in Baton Rouge. He covers the LSU Tigers. He'll be with us in about 7 minutes to discuss his biggest question marks for this team, what he thinks he can learn from this team. If you have question marks about your home, though, you should call the Gusty Goulas Group, 205-542-1996, or just go to GustyGoulasGroup.com. You'll see a list of things that they can do for you, how they can help. You'll see a button at the top right of the page if you go there on your phone. That's GustyGoulasGroup.com. Smash that button, a little bit of information. You'll find out what your home is worth right now and what Gusty Goulas Group can do for you. They've helped family members of mine. They've helped more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. You can trust Gusty's aggressive and proven selling system. Google Gusty Goulas Group. You'll see over 855-star Google reviews. So if you need a new home, want to know what your home is worth, what you could potentially get for it to get where somewhere else, GustyGoulasGroup.com or call 205-542-1996 and start packing today. LSU, what is the biggest question mark? What positions should we be paying the most attention to when they take the field to do something for spring this weekend? Matt Moscona joins us next to discuss it on Mac and Cube in the morning. 7:20 Wednesday, April 9th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Dodgers go down to the Nats last night, 8-2. Dodgers now 9-4. Nats one game below 500. Yankees go down to the Tigers again. They're 6-5. Tigers 7-4, 5-0. They get the shutout. Braves get to win number 2 on the season. They're now 2-8. Take out the Phillies 7-5. And the A's take out the Padres 10-4. Padres go down to 9-3. So that NL West coming back to life just a little bit there. In Major League Baseball. Matt Moscana does radio in Baton Rouge, covers the LSU Tigers, joins us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. Start with this, Matt. What exactly are we going to get this weekend? I don't know if we call these, jamborees, festivals, carnivals, activities related to football in the spring, I guess. What are we going to get from LSU this weekend?
Maybe there'll be funnel cakes.
I hope so.
Who doesn't love a funnel cake?
Actually, I had a hard time last year. We went to Disney and it was late. It was really late. We shouldn't have been there. And they served funnel cakes. It was just over in like one different part. They had funnel cakes with powdered sugar and strawberries on top. And I was like, this is going to be incredible. And my kids didn't want it. They were like, no, not even trying it. And I was like, you guys have no idea. Dad will eat all of this.
Yeah, more for you. It's the dad tax. It totally makes sense. So this weekend, I think you'll just see a controlled scrimmage. And actually, guys, they did this last year where we all were assuming it was going to be like the spring game, and they started with basically an hour of practice before they went to the controlled scrimmage portion. So I think it's going to be similar. Like they'll do some goal line period, some red zone period. They'll do basically the things they let us see all the time. They'll do corner and DB receiver one-on-one drills, blocking drills, one-on-one pass rush drills with the offensive line, defensive line. I mean, BK's been really good about letting us into practice, guys. I mean, there's times we get to watch full practices, scrimmage sessions. I mean, 2 hours of practice. So I just think they're just going to have a full practice session. And Kelly said the reason he wanted to is to maximize the 15 practices because in his experience he found, I don't know if this is true, you could both answer this better than I could. He said he would spend basically the 14th practice as a dress rehearsal for the 15th practice, the spring game. And then they didn't always situationally get the work they wanted in the spring game. So he felt like he was basically docked 2 practices of maximizing effectiveness. So I think it's just going to be a regular practice. They're just going to do it in Tiger Stadium and let the fans watch.
What do you think is the biggest key for LSU's resurgence this year? They had a solid year last year. It was fine. I mean, it wasn't great by any stretch. But what do you think is the one thing they got to find this upcoming year to kind of take this team to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, Greg, I think it's pretty obvious. It's just the defensive side of the ball has to improve again. I mean, they went from 2 years ago with Matt House being literally the worst defense in the history of the program, right? Blake Baker comes in, they were better, but no one's going to look at that defense and say they were good. I mean, look at the Alabama game with Jalen Milroe running the way he did as a case in point. So much of the focus this year in the portal class was improving at every level of the defense. They went at it 3 veteran defensive ends. They added a big 350-pound tackle in Sadir Mitchell from Texas. They added a cornerback from Virginia Tech and Mansour Delane, who really looks the part. They added a safety in Tamarcus Cooley from NC State, who's probably going to be a day one starter. So they invested so many resources at every level of the defense to make sure that unit catches up to the offense. Because, guys, the offense is good. I think you'd agree with this. LSU's offense with Nussmeier coming back and all those weapons, they're plenty good enough to win any game they play. I'm not saying they're going undefeated. I'm saying that side of the ball is good enough to be able to win any game they play. The defense has to catch up. And so really it's just a question of how much better in year 2 under Blake Baker with these transfers can they be?
So let's stay with that offense. Matt Moscana joins us now on the Higginbotham Hotline, does radio in Baton Rouge, covers the LSU football program. You lose both tackles. We know where Will Campbell's going to be drafted. I think Emory played a little bit better than people thought down the stretch. He deserves a little more credit for that. A couple of guys that helped you inside as well. They were dinged up last year, so you look at that. How good can they be? Is there an addition that maybe we're not hearing enough about that you're excited about? What do you expect from that group this year?
Yeah, and by the way, Cole, I love that I can always rely on you for an offensive line question. And I really do think and I mean, Greg, this might have actually been the answer to your question, because if you ask me, like, what's the biggest question mark on this team, it is the offensive line. I mean, you're losing 4 starters that combine to play 170 career games, which is mind-boggling. And they all played together, by the way, for 4 years or 3 years, it just doesn't happen in this day and age of the transfer portal. But all these guys played together every game for 3 years. And losing those guys is massive. Now, what they've done so far in spring is they have shuffled the offensive line every time we've seen them to give probably 11 different guys looks with the ones. And I think they're trying to maximize this time to not only to get those guys reps all in different spots, but also for the coaching staff to get a look at them in different spots. But the key to this whole thing, like the linchpin, are the tackles. So Tyree Adams was a top 100 recruit. He's now in his third year at LSU. He's playing left tackle. He's going to replace Will Campbell. And then Weston Davis, who's in his second year, was a 5-star. They flipped him from A&M. He's playing right tackle. Guys, if those two guys win those jobs and hold them down, everything else falls into place. They added a couple of transfers, Braylon Moore from Virginia Tech at center, Josh Thompson from Northwestern. They hope he plays guard. But if either of those tackles can't win their starting jobs, and now you have to move a guy like Thompson out to tackle, now you start to have a domino effect that has a chain reaction through that whole group where you start shuffling pieces, and you're probably not as good with your best 5 out there in their proper spot. I don't know if that all makes sense, but effectively, just we think we're programmed now so much to think about the portal guys, and they do matter undeniably, but this is an instance where like we collectively would have been really excited a half decade ago about these really highly recruited guys that are finally getting their chance to play to see what that would look like. But I think now, because we've become so conditioned to plug and play portal guys, the high school recruits developing and getting their turn maybe brings a little more angst, but that is the key to that offensive line. Adams at left tackle, Davis at right tackle. Those dudes need to win their jobs and be really good.
What about just a commitment to running the football? Last year, it was painful how one-dimensional they became offensively. I can't say it was ridiculously surprising. Nussmeier's not a huge run threat. I think he can run and probably should a little more than he did last year. But looking at everything, I'm not sure that Nussmeier's the guy that I think can ignite this balanced attack offensively. How do you think that balance will look this year? Is it going to be an alternate commitment? What do you anticipate as far as run pass offensively?
Yeah, I think, and Greg, I know you got to call a bunch of the games last year. Nussmeier only scrambled 12 times all season. He had 12
Correct.
rushing attempts to scramble all season. So,
but
like
a couple of them were huge. Like he had that one for like 18 yards against Ole Miss. Like he can do it. It's like he views running the football as a sign of weakness, though. It's hilarious.
Well, there are also a couple where he could have picked up 10 yards and decided to just wait and try to throw the ball. So,
I mean, maybe, guys, like the seminal moment of the season that every LSU fan will talk about where things went badly. You know, when LSU was playing at Kyle Field and they're up 10 in the third quarter and Nuss is rolling to his left and he can run and get a first down or throw the ball away. And instead he threw back across his body in the middle of the field, threw a pick. A couple plays later, A&M was in the end zone, and then the avalanche started. I mean, that was a game where LSU had crept back in the top 10, and that was a very pivotal moment that people talk about. But it's funny, we were at practice a few weeks ago, and they're running, ones on ones, and they run a zone read play where Nuss tucks it and runs around right end for about 20 yards. And again, this is live. I mean, they weren't going to tackle Nuss to the ground, obviously, but this was against first-team defense. 11 on 11, he ran for about 20 yards around right end, and Joe Sloan looks back at the – we're like on this balcony where they have us perched this year. Sloan looks back and goes, "Even y'all like that, huh?" It's like cracking a joke about Nussmeier running the ball. So I think they're – long way of answering the question. I think they're very intentional. Look, they were dead last in the SEC in rushing offense. I mean – Think of an LSU team being dead last in the SEC in rushing offense. I mean, The Les Miles era is a distant memory at this point from what they are offensively. So you have Caden Durham back, and he had a very, very successful freshman season. I think a lot of people are excited about that. But I do think you're right. I mean, I think Nussmeier being smart, but being a little more intentional in the running game is going to be part of it. And don't rule out, guys, the creativity in the running game. Like, they're getting guys like Xavion Thomas and Aaron Anderson and Varian Brown involved in that aspect of the game as well, be it on jet sweeps or lining them up in the backfield. I mean, it's bizarre. They actually let us see all this stuff at practice, but I don't think they're trying to hide any of it. I think, they have such an embarrassment of riches at the skill position this year with the guys returning and who they brought in via the portal that I think they're going to try to get creative with all the different ways to get them involved.
Where are you on the running backs and just how good that room can be or how far that room is from what we're used to seeing at LSU?
Well, I think Caden Durham is a legit one. And keep in mind, guys, also, he dislocated 2 toes in the South Alabama game last year. So he played half the season with a metal plate in his shoe to keep his foot flat. So I can't even imagine trying to play that position with dislocated toes.
Ugh.
But and he was still fantastic. So I think Caden Durham is outstanding. I'm not telling you he's Leonard Fournette, but he's outstanding. After that, it's a big question mark. I mean, if you would last year, guys, if we were talking this time, you would have asked me, who's the one guy offensively that nobody knows that everybody will by the end of the season? I would have told you Caleb Jackson, and he ended up vanishing last year. But he's back. And then you've got a couple of freshmen coming in, including Harlem Berry, who's a 5-star. He's the #1 running back in the country out of New Orleans. But guys, like, he doesn't look like what you would customarily think LSU running backs will look like. Harlem's a smaller guy, but he can fly, he can make you miss, and he's excellent in the pass catching game. So, do we see Harlem in more of a traditional dot the I type, or pistol type set where he's carrying the ball between the tackles? I don't know that. But all this to say, like, I don't know that the experience depth at running back is certainly not there. The physical ability is. It will be interesting to see who behind Caden Durham emerges and becomes a key part of that running game.
Matt, we appreciate the time, man. Great stuff, kind of breaking this down, getting a little bit of an idea of what we need to watch this weekend, what we need to see this weekend, and I guess we'll have to be relying on you guys to share it with us since we won't be there in person sometime next week. So thanks for hopping on with us.
Anytime, guys. Thanks.
It's Matt Moscona, ESPN Radio in Baton Rouge. Can hear him really across Louisiana, covers LSU, and some similar concerns that we had, some things that we had discussed that maybe we had uncertainties around. If you have uncertainty about your health right now, you should go to Game Day Men's Health. The peptides in stock to be able to help you with sleep, to be able to help you with weight loss, energy, your skin care, anti-aging, all different ways that the peptide mixing that they can do there at Game Day Men's Health can give you a little bit of an extra boost. Those peptides, your body creates those naturally over time, stops making them, and they can give you a way to inject a little bit more and get that going back in your daily routine, be a better part of your life. Weight loss programs, they have those. Testosterone replacement, if you're feeling on edge, you lack energy, not getting sleep, they have that as well at Game Day Men's Health. Mention Mac and Cuban, you walk in, you save 10% on any service right there. But here's how you do it. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. You go there now, fill out the form for a free consultation. You get the free PSA test, free testosterone test. Therefore, they know your baseline health right away. Then they present the options that they have in which they may be able to help you. And there's a couple of them. Like I said before, called me yesterday after they heard me talking about how sleepy I was after a rough weekend. Said, come to look at some of these peptides that we got, see if we can help you out, see if one of them might be for you. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Go there now, fill it out. It's free. And you get a minimal upfront cost for all the programs they offer as well. It's very different than some of the other places in Central Alabama. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Fill out that form for a free consultation today and tell them you heard about them right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We'll follow up that conversation on LSU. Take a look at the schedule, too, because we know they're going to be in action with some sort of a spring game this weekend. Next on Mac and Cube in the morning. 7:37 Wednesday, April 9th, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. A lot of spring football happening right now. A lot more going to be happening this weekend. You won't see a ton of it, but we'll try to bring you everything we can on it and just share different things that took place in different places and our expectations and what we heard and some of the things that we are able to see. LSU, the conversation there with Matt Moscana on the previous segment. If you missed that, get the podcast on the app. Just search WJOX or go to jocksfm.com. He shares a lot of the same sentiments that we do, Greg, and I feel like maybe a little bit more concerned about the defense. There were parts of it we brought up yesterday, but offensive line, a part of his concerns. We've mentioned that, and he seemed to be more confident that if these two young tackles get in there, we'll feel pretty good about it.
Yep.
But then that defense felt like a little bit more of a concern for Matt's also. I mean, there are pieces of it that you like. I mean, Whit Weeks, if he's healthy, he's awesome. He's great.
Of course.
Harold Perkins can help in different ways. Patrick Payton has been great at times. He has also been average at times. So how does it all work together? How does it all fit?
How many times has he been great? Like I'm simply asking the question. I'm not trying to, play devil's advocate because I agree with you. Like it's hard to ignore the potential. I just don't know how many times though he's been great. He's been great in one game that I can recall. One.
Yeah,
maybe there was more, but I just don't remember.
I have to go back and look at the game logs of, he had 5 sacks against Charleston Southern.
Okay, against real competition. My question is not that you're wrong. My question is, do we have some type of build up with him that's just not realistic?
I think you see the frame and you see the ability at times. Like he had 3 sacks against Cal. He had 2 sacks against Florida in 23. And actually, if you go back to 23, you look at the last 3 games, he had 2 sacks against Florida, one against Louisville, one against Georgia. So, and I know the Georgia game, they lost by 60 or whatever, but he kind of turned it on late there. 2 sacks against Wake. So it has been flash worthy. It has been
definitely
pretty good for a couple reps here and there. I don't think it's consistently been across multiple weeks, but you just see. I think the main thing is you see the size and the flexibility and the movement, and you think to yourself, man, if that guy just could consistently turn it on, he could be tough to manage, and hadn't been that consistently. It's no different than what they're getting in Norman. The same deal. Out on the edge of where you see some of it that looks good at times with Marvin Jones Jr., and then it just kind of goes away. So I don't know how great he can or cannot be, but I do know you're getting a talent. That's for sure.
Well, he's absolutely has the skill set. He actually absolutely has the traits. I just feel like sometimes we get so enamored with with the peak. We don't often acknowledge the fact that the peaks happened. There's only one Mount Everest in his career. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the only thing that I'm just I just feel for 2 years now, I feel like I've been burned by Harold Perkins on the excitement level that I had to watch him play, on the level of anticipation that I had for him to fit in this defense specifically. I love his fit in this defense. I think it's great, but Whit Weeks ended up doing all the things that I thought Harold Perkins was going to do. And it just didn't materialize. And I know he got banged up and got hurt last year. That happens. But I think you and I probably fall victim to this. I hope we're not too bullish on LSU's defense because of what we think Harold Perkins can be. He might not be the straw that stirs the drink. It's Whit Weeks that stirs the drink, and it might be a very much improved defensive line.
Yeah, it's all fair. And I think it's all real, all feasible, and all could be possible. But it's a lot easier to have confidence in that offense with your quarterback coming back and a solid group of receivers. And like Matt Moscana said, we actually mentioned it yesterday. Aaron Anderson in and out of the backfield a little bit. Xavion Thomas in and out of the backfield a little bit. It just makes sense to do that. Barryon Brown has been sort of an end-around guy in his entire career at Kentucky. So he's someone that can help you behind the line of scrimmage as well. All those guys can help you in the screen game, in the quick game, and can turn high percentage throws into explosive plays. So basically extending the run game a little bit. That all eases up things on the offensive line if you can get those going. But you, first and foremost, got to catch the football. Barryon Brown's had some issues with that. Something that's going to have to be there. You got to be healthy, available. Nick Anderson's had some issues with that. So I think when I look at this LSU team, when you're going to talk about potential or maybes or ifs, ands, buts, the number one thing that I'll come up with is health. Because think about the guys that have been dinged up across the board on this football team, and
Yes.
especially this offseason. There's a lot of guys that a lot of people are relying on to do some really good things that at times have not been available. And that, to me, is going to be the key of whether or not they can get to 10 wins or it's 7-8 wins.
I think this team is absolutely in a position to make the playoff. I think the schedule's a beast. I'll admit that. I think the schedule's very tough. The biggest challenge for them to get to where I think they can go is just who they have to play and where they have to play them. All that taken into account, they have the personnel that you want, right? I mean, I'm not sure anybody to name a team in the league outside of Texas that wouldn't strongly consider swapping a handful of their starters for LSU players.
In the Southeastern Conference, I can't come up with too many, specifically at the skill positions.
Well, at the skill positions, I don't think there's anybody besides maybe Texas. Maybe. Because are you taking Arch or Garrett Nussmeier right now? It's hard to say Arch. I understand the appeal.
Though.
I know you don't like Nussmeier.
Because every time you have talked about Nussmeier, what's the one thing you've said? John, what's the one thing no, that's what I've said.
Inability to run
there
or
you go.
unwillingness
There you
to
go.
run?
There it is.
But you've also highlighted how that handcuffs your offense in today's college football.
I think it can. I think it just makes you just have to be a little bit better as a play caller and being intentional about calling run plays.
Well, let's look at it real quick before we go to break. Vanderbilt, no. A&M, no. Even though A&M's running back room is crowded, but they've you want to talk about availability? I'm just saying I'm not taking A&M's skill over LSU's.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like going through like the.
No, we're just talking skill. We're just talking skill.
I thought you were going through the schedule.
Skill.
I did.
Tennessee is a no. South Carolina is a no. Oklahoma, people would immediately say no, but you could make an argument if you really looked into it.
I probably have.
No. Kentucky is a no. Florida is
no.
It's closer than people think. What about Auburn?
I think you could lean Auburn there. You could make a case.
Yeah, Arkansas is a no. Alabama,
if Auburn had
a
little bit more predictable running back situation, I'd feel maybe a little better about that argument. But I think you could make a case for Auburn for sure.
Georgia or LSU skill right now?
LSU.
Yeah. I think your point is fair in that there's not a slam dunk. I would definitively take that group over LSU. Texas, I think the closest you're going to get. But yeah, there's not a couple of teams that you say, oh no, give me that group of receivers and running backs and tight ends instead. It's not there. So
no.
All right, we'll continue that conversation on the other side. The cold weather is continuing. Maybe going to warm up a little bit more today. One of those weird days where 38 when you leave the house, 68 when you come home from work. So what does that mean? Well, it means you better have a train because spring weather in Alabama is unpredictable. You need that reliability. Voted America's most trusted HVAC brand right now, can receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Train home comfort systems. Find out more at Train.com. It's hard to stop a train. We'll continue talking LSU. Take a look at the schedule and other skill around the SEC right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. Brent Key, Georgia Tech head football coach, coming up in 11 minutes on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 800-239-9569. You want to get in, talk spring football. LSU been a major portion of the conversation so far today. They will be in action, I guess, this weekend, doing something related to football activities, football playing, football, not really a game. As they didn't have a game last year, will not have a game this year. But either way, they will be doing something in front of some people. I don't believe you will have the ability to see it because it will not be televised, which you hear from Matt Moscona, Greg, that the media is there watching them use different personnel in the backfield, do different things, yet we're not going to put this on TV anywhere for any of us to watch any of it.
I would definitely go if it were possible. Like, I would 100% be in attendance if possible.
I would love to be in attendance at all of these, but
of course,
obviously it's just not feasible for us to be able to make the trip and to be able to get there. So
to have a little pee-wee baseball, little league baseball or whatever.
But it does feel a little bit odd that, we have to keep everything quiet now and we don't want anybody to see our players and we don't want anybody to see our plays. And but you're letting the media at open windows, look at things that maybe you didn't do last year, or some people might view as a little bit secretive heading into this year. The LSU schedule will start out with Clemson. Then you'll get La Tech, Florida week 3. That's a big game for both those teams.
For sure.
That might be one right now that you look at that needs to be circled. That's not by a lot of people because of what still lies ahead for both teams and maybe what both teams can or cannot be this upcoming season.
Well, I mean, I don't know about you. Like, what are your expectations? Like, do you have pretty high expectations?
My expectations are that they can be a very good team. I'm not putting them in the playoff right now. I'm not saying they're going to be dominant right now because I think Florida is very similar to the way I view LSU. So that might be a little fork in the road game right there, week 3, where the winner of that one goes on to be at least knocking on the door of the playoff and a team that we're talking about in the playoff mix, and the other one's scratching to get to a bowl game. Southeast Louisiana, you're at Ole Miss. That's one that has a lot of meaning for both those programs. South Carolina at home. At Vandy could be really tricky, especially if you have a deep. We talked about that one yesterday, where the Vanderbilt offense against that defense feels like 480 yards for Vanderbilt or 180 yards for Vanderbilt, one or the other. Then Texas A&M is another sort of question mark team. You're at Alabama, Arkansas for the boot, Western Kentucky, and then at Oklahoma to close it out, which I think you and I both probably have a lot higher expectations for Oklahoma this year than a lot of other folks do. So
why are we the only ones there? Like, why is no one else catching wind of this team's potential? Like, are we taking crazy pills here?
I think there's probably about 7 people on earth that have watched John Mateer's film that didn't cover that team last year. So
if that's the reason, then fine.
And maybe your best overall football player was hurt and just didn't really play last year. And we kind of know what he's capable of because people weren't grinding the tape on Purdue or their spring game last year either. So they got some guys. And then, now listen, is it in stone? Absolutely not. The offensive line's got to get figured out, and it all has to mesh and work, a lot of new pieces, but the defensive line is going to cause problems. They just are. I mean, the defense in general is problematic for people to deal with, and the defensive line's where you start. They're going to be good. Are they going to be as good at linebacker or safety? Maybe not, but I don't think you have to be a very good defense. And if they had offensive support last year, I think they could have been a great defense, like one that we're still talking about. Probably should be, but the offense wasn't going to allow that to be an all-time great defense. They just weren't going to get the assistance that they needed.
No, under any circumstances. All-time great defense that's a hard pill to reach unless you have really complimentary offense that's helping you out.
You got to have a little help, at least. Like, you can't be a one-dimensional football team and just think that your defense is going to carry you constantly throughout the course of a year. It's just not real. You can have that confidence in Shinar Flooring, though.
Shinar Flooring's been great, and Fu and his team has done a great job of making sure that they have plenty of inventory in stock so that you can go see it, touch it, feel it, experience it yourself before you install it in your home. In Birmingham, Trussville, all around this area, they're the only contractor that has 40,000 square feet of Core Tech flooring by Shaw in stock. Highly recommend you go and check out what Fu can do for you by going in and looking at that Core Tech flooring. It's kid-proof, pet-proof, it's waterproof, It's great for all areas of your home, and it will increase your home's value the second you install it. So if you're thinking about making some adjustments to your floors, call who? Call Foo. Call them at 205-518-6423 or go online at fooandyou.com.
All right, so this LSU team, it's starting to kind of hit me here, Greg, when we had this conversation about LSU and we look down the rest of the league. You could almost have the same conversation with more than half of the league that we're having with LSU. We just mentioned they in Florida in a similar category. Georgia would be sort of leaning more on the going to have a good year than mediocre year category, but I do still think that there are more questions there than there have been in a while. I think Tennessee is back into this category of you're not going to be as dominant up front on your offensive line. You're definitely not going to be as dominant up front on your defensive line. And you lost a lot of weapons. So what are you going to look like? You lost a lot of complementary players, too, specifically at tight end. I don't know how that's going to go. South Carolina, we think, has a lot of high-end players, but do they have the complementary players in the depth to be able to maintain being a good football team across the course of a season? A&M question marks everywhere. Ole Miss giant question mark coming into this year. Mizzou question mark back and forth this year. I think Arkansas has a chance to extend past what people believe. We haven't even mentioned Vanderbilt, who beat Alabama, beat Auburn, was a really good football team last year, and could be again. A lot of that skill is going to return for that football team. We talked about Oklahoma extending. Auburn has the ability to maybe go past where people think in the win column, but we also know they have the ability to not get to where people think. I have no idea what to make of Kentucky right now. And Mississippi State does have their starting quarterback returning in the offense for the second year. So outside of Texas, I don't know who else you couldn't throw into the category of maybe or maybe not.
I think Texas is probably the only one that I feel real confident in being able to add to that conversation.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 8 a.m., Wednesday, April 9th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Watch live on YouTube each and every morning. Also can listen on the app, listen at jocksfm.com. We've talked a lot about spring football, activities around the game of football in the spring, no longer referencing many things as spring games. Brent Key, head coach of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, with us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. Coach, where are you on spring games, spring activities, how you will handle certain things in the spring that people may or may not be able to come watch, pay attention to?
I mean, we jumped right into business this morning, man. No hello, no how are you, how's the weather?
We ain't got time for that.
Golly.
We're talking football here.
Hey, right to the meat of it, man. Look, spring games, I mean, first of all, spring practice is a huge development time, especially nowadays. I mean, you figure 30, probably on average 30-40% of every team is new in January now. So it's a real building of your team and development time for these guys to understand the way you do things, and just to get guys to understand how you want to practice and how you want to run your program day to day. So spring ball is important, and but it's different than the season. Where in the season you're practicing for a game each week, and you have to have something at the end, I believe, for these guys to work towards. And our team's super excited to play the spring game on Saturday, and we've worked extremely hard the last 2 years to really get our student body involved and our alumni base involved, and it's a great day for them to be able to come out too.
Do you feel like, Coach, you've gotten to a point now where everybody acknowledges how you play? And I think the hardest thing is developing a brand for your program. You've successfully done that the last couple of years. Now that you've developed that brand, what has the reaction been when Georgia Tech contacts a player, or when teams are preparing for you? Do you notice a different edge with how they try to defend you because of how different y'all are offensively? I think you've done a great job. It's just, what's the next step?
Yeah, it's when we started this thing out 2.5 years ago, whatever it was. It's we tried to be the most uncool, gritty, tough, hard-nosed team around, and just organically, I guess you'd say, it's kind of turned into a cool place to be. And I guess I told some other day, I guess old school's coming back to being cool again. But they see a difference in what we do. We do have the toughness and the discipline that is so important to winning football games. But when you watch us play, I mean, our guys have fun. I mean, I want these guys to celebrate and enjoy, getting sacks and scoring touchdowns. But really what we've been able to do offensively here, I think, is really open people's eyes, because we're not going to be a singular, get the ball to one or two guys. I mean, Buster does a great job of spreading the ball around to all the playmakers and getting, building in touches to the game. So in the way we play, whether it's, running the ball, throwing the ball, play action, getting the ball on the perimeter, it's what kids want to do now. And kids want to have, offensive players in high school want to have the ball in their hand. So, and then the other part of it, we did last year see a little difference in the way people played us. But I mean, that's back to, we've established who we are and how we play and the principles of what we built the program on. But now it's consistency, guys. We've got to consistently be able to go out week in and week out, regardless of who we play, and compete the same way.
Brent Key, Georgia Tech head football coach, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. What can you, staying with your offense, what can you guys even add? I feel like you carry everything. You have reads, options, RPOs on everything, motions, formations. I mean, how much do you look to actually go out and add to your offense based on what you showed last year?
Pro I formation, under center, Greg.
Oh, wow.
Deep play action, ISO, and power.
Let's do it. Can we get like the Notre Dame box in there also? Can we got the T formation in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Now Coach Johnson, get some, bring some Coach Johnson back in here, and some of the triple. And look, the whole thing is making it hard for defenses to defend with the same personnel in the field, and creating different matchups and formations and motions and shifts with personnel. And we knew when we came in here and started this thing, we weren't going to be able to line up and win every one-on-one matchup we had. It just wasn't going to happen. So the combination of tempo, whether it's, warp speed, fast tempo, or huddling and, snapping the ball with 1 second on the clock, and the motions and the shifts, and, to be able to win 20-25% of your snaps just because defense's cleats aren't set or their eyes aren't in the right spots, we've been able to take advantage of that.
with how you guys attack teams, you have to practice in a way that most teams probably don't want to practice, where you have to really engage, and it has to be very, very physical, and it has to be, intense. I feel like a lot of teams are kind of getting away from that, but it seems like you and a handful of others are leaning in. Have you had to alter practice for player needs and availability the last couple of years, or are you just kind of sticking to what you know?
Stick to what we do, man. It's
But is there ever
look,
like a resistance though, where you're like, we need to pull back a little bit today because we've been grinding the guys, or is it like, hey, no, if they can't handle it, get out? You know what I mean? Like it's a good throwback.
I do. Look, I've got a really good group of guys around me too with the sports science part of it that monitor everything we do in practice and the loads on the guys and the contact we're having, and they'll come to me and say, hey, we need to pull back a little bit, and I trust those guys. But there's also times where as the head coach you start to get a little soft and you say, oh man, like do we need to pull back? And they're like, no, we need to keep going. So it's a good balance of collective thoughts on how we practice. But I mean, we've had 2 scrimmages at this point. We had 160 plays in both of them, live, and then we had 2 other days where we went 80 plays live on a Thursday, and then another probably 40, 50. I mean, we're close to 500 live snaps to this point in spring right now. The last time I checked, I mean, football games on Saturdays are played tackling and with pads on, and you got to protect the ball and try to disrupt plays on the other end. And I mean, that all comes with playing the game that way.
Absolutely. Brent Key, Georgia Tech head football coach, with us on the Higginbotham Hotline. So you guys will have a, quote, spring game Saturday, 1 o'clock on the ACC network. Is this still a spring game? Are you on board with still putting that product out on the field if from a traditional sense? Are you going to go more the carnival route like some of these other coaches are? Like, where are we with what we're going to actually do on Saturday?
And bring some clowns out here and shit stuff.
Why not?
No, it's we're going to play football. We've got some player availability right now that in certain positions that'll change how we have to play it a little bit. And you get to this point, I'm not going to, we're on Saturday, we'll be six weeks out from, beginning of summer training. And I don't want to lose anybody to lose them for extended time during summer. So, a couple, guy has a tweaked calf or hamstring, we'll hold those guys. But we're still going to play football. We're going to, we'll probably have a couple running clock quarters, but I want to get some 2-minute situations in. I want to be able to get some. There's still things we have to get better at. We want to have some short yardage situations come up, some third downs, possibly some 4th and go for it within the scrimmage that we all continue to need practice at and work on. That's the day to get better.
Considering how many teams are canceling the spring game or canceling media availability and all that stuff, I mean, is it much ado about nothing? I mean, I feel like you'll be pretty candid, Coach. We've been friends a long time. You and Cole are O-line besties and all that fun stuff. But I need to understand, like, everyone's saying, well, we don't want our players to get taken. Well, if your players are getting in the portal, is it really going to be a spring game performance? It's going to boost their willingness to leave your program? Like, why is it that we're being so guarded as it relates to the spring game here in 25?
I'm sure I'm not the only coach that's going through what every coach is going through right now. And let me just tell you, they know who your good players are regardless, right? And it doesn't have anything to do with the spring game. It has zero to do with the spring game. Nothing. All right. There might be a new guy that you have that somebody might not know about, but believe me, everybody knows who everybody's good players are. And it's pretty evident about what we're all going through right now.
I don't think there's any doubt. Brent Key with us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Coach, I don't think a lot of people have an understanding of what returns for you in your backfield at quarterback. There were some pieces I know you probably wish you could have held on to, but with what you're going to have under center, what you're going to have in the backfield, just how much comfort does that give you moving forward? How much more has that allowed you to be or do in the spring, having Haynes King, Jamal Haynes back?
Yeah, starting with the quarterback, which is the most important position in all sports, and we've got 2 in there that have played meaningful snaps. We have a third, Graham Knowles, who's developing as a young guy, as a freshman right now, and I believe we have as good a quarterback room as anywhere in the country. I really do. And then we've added some depth to complement Jamal in the backfield. We got some young guys that guy that redshirted last year that's really come along, and got a couple transfers in and some freshmen in. So the backfield is solid, and to me, anytime you can have the straight up the middle, from the quarterback, running back, the interior, the O-line and D-line, and be strong, you're going to have a chance. And that's what opens it up on the outside for the pretty guys, for the guys that run real fast. And we made some, you lose some, gain some, and I think we're going to be, Trent's done an unbelievable job with these receivers, unbelievable job, and he's a great coach and technician, and he's really developed these guys. So I think we have a chance. We just got to stay healthy and stay together.
I hate to bring up a memory that I know is unpleasant, but I think it was a moment for your program, for the world to see just how far you've come. And that was the game against Georgia last year. And experiencing that devastation at the end of the game had to have been something that will have a lasting impact on how your guys prepare in the future. I remember in 2010, we experienced a devastating loss to Auburn, who went on to win the national championship. And as a result, the team was better in the future because of the disappointment of that day. You had a similar experience last year in the game against Georgia. How have you harnessed that disappointment and allowed it to maybe push you even harder this offseason?
Well, first thing, it was probably 3 days I didn't eat or sleep or anything after that game, and rip your guts out. And there's not a person that was on that field that didn't have their guts ripped out. But let's be real honest now. We had 233 days left until we play them again, and we had a chance to win that football game, and we didn't finish. All right, and I don't care how many points you're up or how you play in the game. At the end of the day, whether it's regulation, 3 overtimes, 8 overtimes, all right, we lost the game, and we had a chance to win it several times. We didn't, and it fuels us. Yeah, it fuels me. I said after the game, it took a fire that burns and poured a can of kerosene on top of it. But it's for every game, and that's where we got to continue to grow as a program. Is playing every game, faceless opponent, and played our ability and our standard. And our whole goal this whole off season has been to we know what our ceiling is. We know how we can compete and play against really good football teams. We got to raise the basement. We can't go to that basement. We've got to, every day we have our best day, right? It can't be striving to get to that day again. It's got to be, all right, that's our new floor. That's the new basement. All right, we got to be better than that every day. And that's the mentality that we've taken this off season in order to be able to go in those games. And look, it comes down to your roster too, and continuing to add depth. And you get in those games late in November, right? You got to be fortified on the lines of scrimmage. Your mid combo guys, the safeties, the ends, the tight ends, the linebackers. Those are the heart and soul of your special teams, right? And you start losing 1 or 2 guys in those spots, right? That's where the depth really kicks in, and it affects you on the special teams now. So we try to address those needs in this off season through recruiting and through the transfers. And like I said, 233 days left.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking some time with us today. Always a fun visit. Is there a guy through spring that we need to be talking about? We need to be paying attention to, maybe that we haven't been, that you kind of come away from first few practices saying, yeah, this is a guy in the fall that y'all need to be ready for?
We have some good young O-linemen. We really do. And, how it is for young O-linemen. Game 1, by game 6, they're going to be a lot different player than they are game 1. But I think Cole, me and you're the only ones that would have eyes on those guys, though. So for everybody else that doesn't watch the big boys up front, we got a couple of defensive line transfers. I think will be good players, linebackers. Wide receiver, Bailey Stockton.
Okay.
He's a guy that had some production at the end of last season. Could make some noise. Defensively, Braden Manley, defensive end, and a really good player. And look, I'm confident our guys staying together, so I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat anything. We have a team that has a good thing, and they want to stick together and play together. And like I said, we'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime, and that's the MO of our whole program.
There you go. Coach, great stuff, man. Thanks for hopping on today. Good luck in your spring game, which actually will be a football game, playing football. We appreciate that in and of itself. So
no flags on the belts.
Well, actually, be even better if there were no flags thrown by the officials. Also, if we could just remove that.
Well, there probably won't be Saturday.
There, good. There you go. Now we're talking. No kicking and no flags. That would be a spring game that I would attend for sure. So, Coach, we appreciate the time.
Just inside run.
That's it. That's all we need. An hour and a half of it. We'll be good. So we'll catch up soon.
All right.
Thanks, man. Brent
All
Key.
right, guys. I appreciate it as always, man.
Absolutely. Brent Key, Georgia Tech head football coach, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. A couple things there that I want to follow up with when we come back. Fun visit from a Birmingham native, Brent Key, Georgia Tech head football coach, next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 8:19 right here on Jocks 94.5. If you missed Georgia Tech head football coach Brent Key, check that out, jocksfm.com or on the app via podcast. Go back and watch YouTube any day as well. Great visit with Coach Key. Still have Taylor Zarzer coming up at 9 o'clock. Talk some Masters with him as Masters Week now in full effect for a lot of folks. It's cool to hear, though, a coach essentially, Greg, say, we're going to go play football. Like we're going to go treat this as close to a game as we can, get those kind of reps. Obviously make it look and feel like something that's going to happen down the road.
right?
that is going to benefit our football team. And there will be run plays, there'll be tackling, and it's going to be that. So just a lot of things I think we heard there from Coach Key, just very refreshing as to how he wants to manage his team, handles his team. Just not a lot of backing off. I mean, hell, I actually thought about the question that I asked him of who has stood out so far, and I'm thinking, man, I don't know if I should have asked that. We're not having spring games because guys don't want one kid to be seen on one play. And he starts throwing out 5 or 6 guys. Like this, there's a transparency with him that I think is very different than there is at a lot of other places.
No, it's refreshing. I would also say that, I mean, it's nice for him to come out and say, yeah, everybody knows who's good. Everybody knows who's got what. There's no secrets here. This is not, you're not fooling anybody. If you don't know who is good at other places, you're toast. I think that's probably what the issue would be. So I am under the impression that this Georgia Tech team feels good about them. I think they got good leadership. I think they have established an identity that is challenging to play against. And I think they've improved enough on defense to make me believe that they could be a problem in the ACC this year. So really optimistic about what he's built already.
How many people out there you think that are casual followers or even a little bit more than casual followers of college football had any idea that Haynes King's coming back to be their quarterback?
I mean, I would think, I don't know. I mean, he's not on any NFL draft shows, which
I just think
I don't know about you. They're kind of.
It feels like he's been around for like 11 years. So I don't think a lot of people looked at it and were like, "Don't forget, Haynes King's coming back."
I was thinking the same thing about Harold Perkins when you mentioned him earlier. I was like, still.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I do know that Haynes King has progressed so much more than I could have ever in a million years anticipated. And I think there's a lot to be said about that young man's progress and growth and what all he's done to get to the point where he's at. Because I would never in a million years have anticipated him being as good as he's been. I'm very, very proud of how much better he's gotten and kind of carving out a role. If you put him in a standard situation, I don't know if it would have been as good. For instance, you put him in Jimbo Fisher's offense, I don't know if it would have been as good. You had to use his legs. He had to be a primary ball carrier in the run game. And he's developed into an outstanding player. I'm really happy for him.
Well, that was one of the things when you started to say it that I immediately came to my mind was how much credit, though, do you have to give Buster Faulkner for doing things that are inside of his strengths and allowing him to really be who he is and not asking him to be this drop back passer that's just not going to go out there and thrive doing that. I mean, I think there's also an acceptance of Haynes King of, hey, pulling the ball and running, it's probably one of the things I'm best at. We need to do more of that.
Yeah.
We need to live there. Like, let's not move to the neighborhood where we have to pay double the real estate taxes. Like, let's go over here where it makes a lot more sense to live. And I think that's the coach and the player, I think, deserve a lot of credit of saying, this is where we need to be. We need to live here. And I think that's one of the main reasons they're having the success they are.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I mean, leaning in, and first of all, Buster does a really good job. Their offensive coordinator.
He's so good.
He does a really good job. I also think that, and it'll be interesting to see what they do without Singleton, but their speed, they're a reminder that speed kills. You know what I mean? I mean, if you have a certain edge, but you got guys that can fly, look out. Because Malik Rutherford there in the slot is an absolute jet. Singleton's been a jet for 2 years, and Auburn fans will find that out this year. Jamal Haynes, the back, can fly. Haynes King's a 10-600 guy or 10-500 guy. I mean, that's cooking at quarterback. I mean, if you have guys that can fly, look out. Speed kills, and I think that they put teams in a lot of conflict because of the threat of the big play on the ground with how much speed they have at their skill spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's if you take this team and you go out there and look at a couple of different guys that might even make them better than they were. You bring in Eric Rivers from FIU and Memphis, who can go. I mean, he's got some juice. You bring in Dean Patterson at wide receiver, who if gives you a couple of different threats. He's that bigger, more physical guy down the field, coming from FIU as well. I mean, that's now all of a sudden you get a receiver that really steps up in this offense. And if he said the offensive line's kind of growing a little bit, they're going to be a handful now, specifically offensively. And he talked about the defensive line maybe taking some steps. They're going to need that side of the ball to make a little bit of improvement. But all of a sudden, this could be a team that, like you said, not just making some noise in the ACC, but maybe surprising a lot of people with what they're able to do this fall.
Yeah, well, I think that they're always going to be a little bit inconsistent as far as some of their best days. They're going to get got by someone they shouldn't get got by, but they can also get anybody in the ACC, and they can even get Georgia, as they've proved last year, and honestly, they played them well the year before that. So I don't think last year's performance should have been a huge surprise. So I don't know how you see it, but I'm pretty optimistic that this group is probably always, just because Haynes King is going to be a little bit up and down, he's still a little sporadic. There are some pretty good moments in there with him, but there also are some moments where you're like, you know what I mean? A turnover where he has a day where he's just a little loose with the football or isn't seeing the field real well, and you end up losing. So I think on the high side, this could be a 9-win football team. On the low side, it could be a 7-win football team. But I feel like that is about right for Georgia Tech right now with where they're at.
As we begin to count down to opening weekend of the college football season, maybe the most interesting, not talked about opener in college football, and that is Georgia Tech at Colorado week 1 for a lot of different reasons. Caden Salter, quarterback, transferring up to Colorado. How is that going to look with no Shedeur Sanders? Will Johnson gone? A lot of pieces that you're going to have to replace. Of course, going on the road, Georgia Tech offense, we just talked about what it is, what it can be. That's one that I think a lot of people should have circled, maybe don't right now, and then maybe a springboard for who knows. I mean, you get on this Georgia Tech schedule, you tell me, I'm going to go through. After I get through, you tell me how many definitive losses you hear on the schedule.
Okay.
Colorado, Gardner-Webb, Clemson, Temple, at
Hang
Wake.
on, slow it down, Clemson.
That's a definitive loss.
Where's it at?
It's at home.
Yeah, I think Clemson will probably handle them, but it's not a guarantee.
Temple, at Wake, Robbie Ashford at Sisson.
That's your guy. Auburn man.
Virginia Tech, at Duke, Syracuse, at NC State, at Boston College, Pitt, Georgia.
Not many.
Just the schedule lines up well, and especially that first win against Colorado, I think could be one that helps even more than maybe it should because of the hype and everything that's going to surround it. But it's on the table for them to be able to potentially put something really cool together. And, obviously a lot has to happen. A lot of things have to take place, but there's a lot to like about that team. I do think that Haynes King still has some improvement he can make with his consistency as a passer. But what he gives you in the run game allows you to not necessarily lean on that all the time.
Well, I still think that he is – look, he's not an NFL franchise quarterback, right? And that's okay. Like, people get so enamored, especially this time of year. Well, what's he look like in the draft projections? Like, who cares? Like, how is he as a quarterback? How is he in college? I don't need an NFL freak to win me a lot of games in college football. I don't. So I'm perfectly good with a guy like Haynes King that can support the ideals of my program, as tough as nails, that will do whatever it takes, put his body on the line in an effort to go win the game. Like, there's a lot to love about what Haynes King has brought Georgia Tech. But he is an imperfect player. He's got a little bit of a longer release. He's got a little bit of a unique release. It's slightly unorthodox. But he can get the ball down the field. And I think you marry up the run game with him, you get those safeties peaking, he can kill you. And that is all you need. So I'm pretty enamored with what this offense could continue to develop into, because I trust that Buster's going to do a great job in putting them in position to be successful every single week.
Yeah, I'd be with you on that. I don't think there's any doubt. All right, we will Get to a little bit of a break. When we come back on the other side, there's some different theories as to why different teams are not having these spring games. We'll go a little bit further into Alabama and Auburn's spring practice and then some of the things we potentially could learn this weekend. Next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 8:33 a.m. Wednesday, April 9th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Taylor's ours are talking Masters coming up at 9 a.m. this morning. Listen online, jocksfm.com. Watch live on YouTube each and every day. Just search Jocks 945.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champion of GMC dealers. You'll see just how good the experience is when you shop at Bill Smith by taking the short drive up to Coleman and just check out the dealer lot for yourself. They have deals that are off the charts good. You can get a GMC Sierra 1500 Ultimate Denali for $14,500 off the sticker. You can get the SLT trim for $13,500 off the sticker. You won't find those deals anywhere else. There's a reason why they sold more GMCs than anyone in the Southeast last year. There's a reason why they've won GMC Dealer of the Year 5 times in a row. 5 years in a row. Think about that. 5-time national champions in a row, and they've won it 8 times overall. Take the short drive up to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. Go see Andy Cole and Jonathan Yeager. Understand that 75% of their business repeat customers because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, so continuing with Alabama, Greg, AC's dad tweets in, I know a lot of programs are saying, you can tweet in, by the way, at Mac and Cube, that they're not putting on spring games due to not wanting to expose kids to poaching. Bama isn't having a spring game due to lack of healthy bodies, in my opinion. One Scully tight end available, very thin O-line due to injury, etc. How real would you say that is for the Crimson Tide?
I don't know. I haven't talked to Kalen about why he's doing what he's doing. I do know that there was a little bit of a mutual understanding between, the television providers. I mean, these games cost a lot of money. These productions cost a lot of money. And if they're not going to give us an appetizing product to put on television, then why are we spending the money to produce them? So I think that there's probably like a little bit of a mutual understanding, but ultimately I think this team, for the most part, we've talked about already, there's a bunch of guys that are banged up missing spring, and they're relatively thin to begin with. But all things I've heard is that a lot of progress has been made this year and a lot of reasons to be optimistic.
And you hope that is kind of what's happening, how it goes, and that people aren't just doing this to keep it away from the fans or not allow other people to see it, because there are people who have interest in it, and there are people who want to be a part of it and want to see it and want to get to know different players that might be helping the team out this year. But I do think that the depth part of this is real for a lot of folks, and a lot of guys that are coming off injuries from the fall, not able to be full go in spring. That hurts your numbers. Then you have guys who transferred in who might not necessarily be ready to be a big part of your offense or defense just yet. That's also a part of it. So the numbers game is one that I imagine, Greg, for a lot of these coaches makes this whole process a little bit more difficult.
I think the numbers game is arguably the biggest challenge when it comes to this whole process. I think coaches say it's because we don't want to get poached. We don't want this. We don't want that. I really believe it's more about numbers. There is a lack of depth. And if the fans can acknowledge just how significant the drop-off is from starter to backup, other coaches can notice that too. And I'm not sure that people want to put bad things out there on tape, because then coach is going to have to answer questions for the next 3 months. You know what I mean? Like, if you go out there and your backups aren't looking so good and they don't execute at a crazy high level, that's kind of a reflection on the coach. Fair or not, probably completely unfair if you want me to be honest. But at this point, you just don't want to put bad product out there, because it's going to force the coach into an uncomfortable situation when he goes on all those speaking tours in the summer.
No, I get it. Yeah, you don't want to have to answer those questions.
Hide it.
you don't want you don't want the negative connotation to begin to float around.
Right.
A lot of people for your team, and so I think that when you look at that being a possibility, you kind of say, yeah, that's not. We don't want to go ahead and generate that or build that, and so when you do, there can be a carryover effect, and that noise is real. How many times Coach Saban talk about not listening to the noise or noise generated outside of the building or people saying things that he didn't want them to hear. All that stuff can be real, can be happening. So you do want to control a certain portion of that. Don't know exactly how much of all of it you can control if it is under your control, but if you feel like you can and you feel like it can be real, then yeah, you'll kind of look at that and slow it down just a little bit. But I'm interested in a lot of what we're going to see from a lot of teams this weekend. I think there's a lot to discuss around it. And one of those teams that I want to get to that is going to be in action to a certain extent this weekend is Oklahoma. We mentioned them a little bit earlier, that not a lot of people are necessarily on board with what Oklahoma might be, could be, potentially will be. I think that they are. If there is a sleeping giant in the Southeastern Conference, I realize that is almost impossible based on the coverage and the discussion points that this league gets specifically in football. I would say Oklahoma is that team. Greg and I are going to tell you a few reasons why when we come back. But first, G-Mag, tell our listeners about Bromberg's.
Bromberg's been the place I've gone for years and years and years, and have had an incredible experience every single time I've gone. I always appreciate the experience. I will walk in the door at Bromberg's. When you make a purchase at Bromberg's, the goal is for that purchase to last a lifetime. That might be in your family forever. So you don't want to mess around. You don't want to try to cut corners. You want to go with the very best. And when my experience, Bromberg's is without question the very best. You can go get your natural diamond, go get a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry. You can go get a beautiful timepiece. They have great watches. They have just tons of different options for you. So if you're thinking about making a generational purchase, a generational investment, highly recommend you going and checking out the incredible people, the sales staff, and just the experience that you'll have when you walk in the door at Bromberg's in Mountain Brook Village and at the Summit.
All right, when we come back, Oklahoma, should the ceiling be as high as maybe Greg and I believe it should? We'll discuss them and more right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 8:44 Wednesday, April 9th. Do you have any questions on spring football, games, activities, get-togethers, spring festivals happening this weekend? Let us know. 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX. You can text in 205-834-9450.
What about field day?
That too?
Big field day guy.
Used to love field day back in the day.
I feel like that's kind of what it is, right?
Yeah, a little bit, except for at Georgia Tech. He ain't doing that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe clowns, but
He don't play.
None of that S.
no.
I don't have any of it.
Need clowns.
When you watch John Mateer, Washington State quarterback that's transferring to Oklahoma, Greg, what do you see?
I think he's a gamer. Really athletic, does a really good job. I think he is a nice thrower of the football, nice solid release, good over the top delivery, get up and down. I think he's really, really good. So I don't know if I'm going to go as far as to say he's as capable of just completely taking over the game as I saw from Cam Ward from time to time, because Cam Ward, watching him at Washington State, it was like he did it all himself all the time. Mateer is a little bit more deliberate and is a little bit more willing to cut it. I mean, a little bit more willing to cut his losses, which I think could bode well in the SEC when compared to what we saw from Cam Ward. So I think things are going to be really good for Oklahoma at quarterback this year.
I'm going to say this, and I realize I probably shouldn't, because we know what happens with comps, and we know what happens when you mention another guy's name with the current player. You know, people immediately take it as that you think they're going to have the exact same or better career, and I don't mean that when I say this, but I actually think what I'm going to say goes right along with what you're saying as far as the type of player. I see Baker Mayfield when I watch him. I think in stature, they're somewhat similar. Kind of throwing with that back foot off the ground all the time. Not afraid to try to fit it into a tight spot. Has that confidence. Kind of the maneuverability. Throwing off platform. Like kind of that real quick, like snappy delivery where they get it out. And he's got he can sling it now. I mean, kid's got a strong arm. So just more so, I think it is a little more so in the way that he operates, like how he does things.
Right.
And how Baker sort of plays the game, but then they have similar skill sets at the same time. So I'm not saying that I think he's going to be the number 1 overall draft pick. I'm not saying that he's going to be the starter for an NFL franchise, but just when you watch him in game, I see a lot of similarities just as to how they operate in a football uniform.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. I don't think he's quite as physical as Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was notoriously physical, almost to a fault, like lower the shoulder, run you over type of guy. That's not really who John Mateer is. He's got a little more twitch and a little bit more wiggle. But I can understand the comparison. It makes sense to me. I can get on board with it. I'm pretty bullish, to be honest with you, on what Mateer could be for Oklahoma as far as kind of invigorating who they want to be through the air. Like that, I think, has been the challenge for Oklahoma is Dillon Gabriel left, but even Dillon Gabriel was not a guy that could create with his legs. I mean, he did from time to time. There were games in which he utilized his legs more than others. But that's not really who he was. I mean, it was more, all right, scramble, there's no one there, I'll take off and gain 12, slide down, live to play the next play. Mateer can take it the distance from time to time. So I think you have a guy that's a little bit more well-rounded, but there is the question about level of competition that he played against last year, and I think it's a fair concern. This will be a massive step up as far as the teams he's playing against week to week.
That's fair. I mean, I can't argue with you on that. It's he's a guy that he's just got that skill set where he makes things happen. And the risk taking aspect of it, can it get you in trouble every now and then? Yeah, sure. It can. He doesn't have anywhere near the cast that Baker ever had in college at any of his stops at any point in time. I mean, that's not even a discussion point.
No.
But the other part of the conversation is what John Mateer may have around him that he didn't have a year ago. And that is, if healthy, this Oklahoma group of skill has a chance to be pretty good. I have not backed off of it. I have not been shy about it.
Are people pushing back on that?
I don't think they're pushing back. I just don't think they know. I don't think they have any idea. I mean, dudes now. I'm just, if Deion Burks is healthy, he's one of the most explosive players in college football. And I just don't know if people really know about him, Greg. I don't know if people know he has that capability. So
I don't know. If you need to be sold,
well, hold on. Not sold, but you tell me, outside of us here, how many other people have you heard even mention Deion Burks this offseason?
Well, he's flying under the radar a bit coming off the injury. He played in 4 games last year. So it's fair for there to be questions. It's fair for people to wonder. I'm not going to be mad at anybody for wondering. I'm not. I think coming back from injury is not a guarantee. I happen to think he's got a real good shot of coming back, but being the guy he was at Purdue prior to arriving is not necessarily a bona fide lock.
Sure.
But I feel pretty confident that kid's going to be a good player.
He played the first 4 games and had 6, 9, 7, and 4 for 36, 53, 80, and 32, 3 touchdowns. He played against Missouri, had 5 for 44. So he played in 5 games last year. And not a lot of people were paying attention to Temple, Houston, and Tulane as far as, him putting himself on the map. Caught 4 balls against Tennessee, 5 against Mizzou. So you caught 9 passes against legit Power 5 opponents last year. It's not going to open a lot of people's eyes. But if you have seen him operate in other places, he is beyond explosive. He can be big time down the field, in the screen game, quick game, making people miss. But got to be healthy. No doubt about that. Number one.
Correct.
But if he is, he can be as dynamic as anybody else in college football.
No one that I put stock into their opinion is going to push back on that. I do wonder a little bit about their commitment to running the football. I think that's a real question at Oklahoma. I don't think it's that dissimilar to what we saw last year, because last year they had to evolve into that commitment. But early in the season, it felt like there was a little bit of a resistance there. Granted, I know they adjusted coordinators and one guy was let go, and I know changes were made. But I just hope that they don't get too enamored with their new toy and abandon the run. That is a fear for me. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think balance is their friend, because I don't know so much about the offensive line. The offensive line to me is a bit of a question mark, and I think it's a fair question mark at this point.
It should be. You didn't have the pieces healthy last year to go out there and even have the same guys on the field for an extended period of time, and then you've gone out and you've added more through the portal this year that should be able to help you. They've got to be available. They've got to have guys that play and practice together. But they do have some that are there, some coming in as freshmen, some coming in via portal, and some that were there last year that I think can be like Wee-Woo, I think could be a solid guard in this league. Now, he's been around for a while. He's got to be healthy. He's got to play. Ozeta, I think, is a guy, too, that I think can move people when he gets going. I don't think Troy Everett is ever going to be a mauler at center, but I think he's more than serviceable. But I think the main part, Greg, is just like get 5 together and let them practice together and then play a couple games together. That's what they never had that last year.
Right. Well, and then again, how many teams did have 5 that played together all year? I think it's not like that's it's not like the offensive line is not a problem for a lot of people. It is. It's a problem for everybody. Everybody struggles to field 5 that you trust on a week-to-week basis. But it also stands to beg the question that this group could rely. The expectations that I have for this group are pretty significant. Like, I think Oklahoma could threaten in the SEC. Like, I really believe that. Now, I think some would push back, but I'm not willing to do that. Like, I think they could potentially do it. So I'm just going to be very curious to see what the preseason. They're the most fascinating team as it relates to media days and where the media ranks them in the preseason. Because I think in the preseason, the people will have them like 7, 8, 9. But in reality, they should probably be like 3, 4, 5. And I know that's a big gap, but I'll just be curious to see where they come in.
Yeah, it's all a great point, and all should be said. We'll turn the page to the Masters on the other side. Taylor Zarzar will join us to discuss, but Dr. Mel would like to discuss it first. Mel, welcome in. It's been a while.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you all today?
Doing great, thanks.
All righty. Yes, sir. My favorite time of the year. First of all, thank you guys for the wonderful, wonderful job that you all do on a daily basis. And of course, as we most know, that this is the 89th Masters. And of course, the par three contest is today, 12-4. And last night they had a great championship dinner. Scotty, of course, made the menu out. And so just an exciting time of the year. And I think I mentioned to you guys, I first attended the Masters back in 1988, the year Scott Verplank was a rookie. And so I think probably 15 trips to Augusta National over the 38 years. And I'm excited again this year. Bernard Longer, this is his last tournament. And Bernard, this is his 41st Masters. And so got a great lineup. And once again, Scott is the favorite this year. And so looking forward to a great, great time for the 89th Masters at Augusta.
Thank you, Mel. It's going to be a sad goodbye to Bernard. But who doesn't want to see guys hit balls across the water today? God,
Hater.
who doesn't line up for that?
What a hater. What a hater. I'm with you, Dr. Mel. It's going to be phenomenal.
It's a great lineup, apparently, as in most of the average lineups that we have for the Masters every other year. This year, they really stacked the deck. They actually got some decent golfers in the field this year. They really stretched and got some guys with some talent in there to compete.
Hater.
For the gold medal. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Going to get right to Taylor Zarzour with SiriusXM covering golf, the SEC Network covering football, and now your voice of the Titans. Congratulations, Taylor.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you, Cole. I'm over the moon about it. It's an incredible opportunity to be in a town that my wife and I love, and there are only 32 of those things, so I'm very excited.
Well, we're excited for you, buddy. Awesome, well-deserved, and we look forward to seeing what you guys do here this upcoming fall. Big weekend. I know you've been on the call for Augusta for quite a while. You've been there all week. Help us understand, kind of set the scene for us here these last few days at Augusta National.
Well, I'm glad we're starting there because I have a lot of problems with your handicap right now, which we'll get to in a minute. But,
exactly where it needs to be.
I don't know how I feel about it. A guy who you love, who almost spells his name exactly like you spell his name, and you're probably distantly related to, is the biggest story. And you know, Rory's tried to complete the career Grand Slam for 11 years, and many would argue he's playing his best golf coming into the Masters this year. He's the only guy on the PGA Tour that's won multiple tournaments, and they were big ones too. One at Pebble Beach and won the Players. He has refined his game. He's been way better with his wedges so far than he's ever been in his career. The guy is playing his best golf. I mean, the whole key, and we had a chance, the two of us, to talk yesterday, and I asked him, I said, do you have to turn your brain off to play in this tournament? And he said, yes. He said, the problem is turning it off when I'm not here, getting sleep, not thinking about all the things that come with trying to win the Masters. He's like, I have to have it on when I'm here. But any great athlete, I mean, Cole playing at a high level for Auburn, or you playing for a high level at Alabama and in the NFL, like you have to turn your brain off when you're not playing so that you can get rest and you can not be so cluttered and tired and spent when you're out here competing. And that's a hard thing for Rory to do. It's not a hard thing for Scotty Scheffler to do. He's just so good at turning his mind off when he's not here. And it's why I think he has a huge advantage over the rest of the field. But that's kind of where all the conversation is starting, guys, as we get ready for the Masters to begin tomorrow. It's, you know, can Rory finally give himself a legitimate chance to win this thing? Or will Scotty win his third green jacket in the last 4 years? Only Jack Nicklaus has done that ever, to win that many in this short of a span. So that's kind of where things are starting. There's a lot of buzz around Bryson DeChambeau, as always, because he's such a lightning rod. But no matter what happens, it's the Masters. I mean, you guys know it's just such a special place.
Taylor Zarzour will cover the Masters for SiriusXM. He's with us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. If it's going to be Rory finding a way to get that win, what aspect of his game has to be best for 4 rounds?
Yeah, that's a great question, Cole. He has been terrible on Thursdays. Typically, the Masters winner in the last decade shoots around 68 in the first round. Rory, on average, shoots 73, and he gets way too aggressive. So you could – I know that you're asking, like, specifically about, like, wedge control or putting or short game. What Rory needs to do is not be so aggressive on Thursday. He just needs to plod along, play what he calls Scotty Scheffler / boring golf, and put the ball in play. He sometimes gets too aggressive. He takes on too much risk, and it leads to a bogey or a double bogey, and he ends up shooting 73 or 74, and he's 7 or 8 back after the first day, and he has too much ground to make up after that. That, to me, is the critical factor for Rory, is just get off to a good start. Go shoot 70 or 69, or maybe even better than that, but just put yourself in the tournament come Friday.
Well, I think it's easier said than done for a guy with that much talent. I understand. It's like when guys hit, it's 155 yards. I've heard your hour-long deal on Hole 12 on SiriusXM Golf, PGA Tour Radio, Masters Radio, actually a couple times this week. But it's 155 yards, a stock 9-iron. Hit a stock 9-iron. Well, everyone thinks at 155 they can go right at the pin, and they don't. They throw it in Rays Creek. I feel like when you're that talented, you think you can do anything, and most of the time you can, so it's hard to be patient. Tiger's been patient plodding around that place for a long time and has 5 green jackets to show for it. Is Rory capable of being patient with the pressure on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing for any athlete, right? You're asking you were so good at being smart with the football, and you were so prepared playing quarterback for Alabama. You didn't try to go out there and play hero ball. And there's some people in the game that do that, and they do that, and then you ask them to be more like you, and they can't do it. It's just not in their personality. It's not in their DNA. I have been impressed, though, so far this year, Greg. He has played more like Scotty Scheffler, and he's been open about it too. Like, I need to be more like him on the golf course. But you're right. I mean, the adrenaline is another thing to factor in when you're 155 yards away on the 12th hole. And, do you throw in an extra 5 yards of adrenaline, and do you hit wedge instead of 9-iron because you're in that situation? Those are all things that must be factored in. But, yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see if he can do it. One thing to think about, and I know a lot of people throughout Birmingham know this because they love the game so much, but Rory led with 9 holes to go in 2011, and then he didn't break 40 on the back 9. He didn't really have a chance with 3-4 holes to go that year. He was in the final pairing with Greg's favorite player, Patrick Reed, 7 years ago, and he wasn't a factor come the back 9. He didn't play well that day. He didn't have a chance with 3-4 holes to go. 3 years ago when Scotty won the first time, Rory finished second, but he finished 3 back. He didn't really ever have a chance. So that'll be interesting to me, is if Rory has a chance with 3 or 4 to go, it'll be the first time he's ever had a chance in the Masters. How does he handle that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it'll be fascinating.
Taylor, hold on a second. You did a 1-hour show on one hole?
Could have been 2.
I don't know that I did a 1-hour show on one hole.
Did. Yes.
He's just, that's McElroy just,
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
I listened to it.
What happened.
Here I am giving you credit. I listened to it. I consumed it, and you guys are sitting here dogging it. Like, I listened to the whole dang thing.
I wanted details
Cole,
on
I do want to say
special.
His handicap at 7.5 is definitely better than it was this time a year ago. I uninvited him from a golf tournament because of where his handicap was a year ago.
Wow.
Well, I got it where it needed to be, and I'm still uninvited. So everyone's on the list. All you golf friends are on the list.
I love it.
All right, let's go into kind of the course. Is there an aspect that's going to be a little bit different that we need to pay more attention to, that we need to be watching? A tree that's been added, or a tree taken away, a dog leg that's going to turn different? Like, what's the part of the course that is going to be a talking point this year that's different than it has been in the past?
Cubelic is 3 up on the questions, by the way. Like,
that's give me a break. Like, there's a tree.
New.
Like, Cole, that's such a backhanded question by Cole. Like, he cares about the one tree that might be adjusted.
That's exactly what people want to know. What is different about the place? There are 4 holes that have new greens because of the hurricane that washed them away. Number 1 is one of those. It'll be harder to hold a shot on the first green this year than it's been in the past because it's a brand new green. So that's one thing to watch. There are a lot of trees that are down. Over 3,000 trees were lost here, Cole, in that Hurricane Helene storm that came in September. Now, as you play the course, I don't think you, me, Greg would notice the difference. But on number 10, the dogleg left, number 10, long par 4, there are a collection of trees on the left that are gone now. And players like Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm, Rory McElroy, they can cut the corner now. They can fly it over those trees. And I think
as opposed to hitting a controlled hook.
Exactly. And
wow.
I think that's one thing that's different about strategy this year that you might want to look for. The third hole had this overhanging tree that was about 250 yards off of the tee. It's a short par 4. And you couldn't really put it down the right side of the fairway because of this overhanging tree. That tree fell down. It's gone. And now you can kind of blow it down the right side. And it's a good place to play from over there. Other than those things I just mentioned, I don't think you certainly aren't going to notice a difference as you're watching it on television. But even if you're out here and just walking around, I don't think you'd notice too much other than those things.
Taylor, I know you got to run. This can be a short answer. Does Rory McElroy really reference Scotty Scheffler's game as boring?
He to him it is. Because Scotty just puts it in play and then puts it on the green and gives himself a 20-foot look at birdie. Rory is one of those guys that likes to cut a corner or go for a green that other players wouldn't go for, or bomb a drive 350 yards. I think that it's a compliment, really. And certainly Scotty and everybody else that plays that kind of style would see it as a compliment. But, yeah, I mean, to him, Rory or Phil Mickelson or Arnold Palmer back in his day, those guys were risk takers. And Scotty's just not. Scotty's like, what is the smart thing to do? He does that on every shot. And so Rory is now asking himself the same thing. What is the smart thing to do? Not necessarily the most aggressive or the boldest, but what's going to keep me in play? And like Greg said, making sure he does that when the game is on the line will be the critical thing to watch.
That's really interesting. Thank you, Taylor. We always appreciate the time. I know you got to run. We'll catch up soon.
Cole, I'm just going to say this real quick as I leave. One time we took Greg McElroy to a tournament, and we hoped that he would ask some questions to some of the players for SiriusXM, and all he did was hug Rory McElroy. That's all he did. And then
I
he
asked
left and went
plenty of
back home.
questions that day. Just because the players didn't want to come over and talk doesn't mean that we. I did hug Rory though. We did have to talk.
He did. Yeah, it was
We
real
did talk
professional.
Irish
Yeah,
heritage.
that's why we're bringing Cubelic to the tournaments moving forward.
Oh, I could handle some
Good.
questions for sure. They think they don't know them. They think they don't know the media anything now. Wait till I get a hold of them.
That'd be great. See you, boys. Look forward
Take
to
care,
seeing you
Taylor.
soon.
Taylor Zarzo, SiriusXM, SEC Network, now voice of the Titans, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. So if that is, we talk about the turnover genome with quarterbacks, Greg. If that is Rory's DNA, and that is his makeup, and that's how he is made. That is in his blood. That is how he's wired. Can he change that specifically for this tournament? Can he go into it and say, okay, I'm going to play it safe this tournament, and I'm going to do this because this is what wins here? Or is it just impossible for him to turn that off?
Well, I think it's hard to turn off because these guys, they're not wired to see failure. Like they're not going to sit there and say, "Oh, I'm going to fail here." Like they sit there to say, "I'm going to execute here."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you were an offensive lineman and your plan was, "All right, well, I'm definitely going to get shaken out of my shoes here on this 3rd and 7." Like what would you approach it differently? Perhaps. But you're not sitting there thinking on 3rd and 7 you're going to get beat. How often did we snap the ball and you thought you were going to get beat?
Not often.
Okay. Like if you did, you're probably not going to be very good at sports.
If you did, you did.
Yeah, if you got beat, you got beat, but you didn't go into the rep expecting to get beat.
I'm saying if you went into the rep thinking you were going to get beat, you got beat. Like that's because you're already beat.
Correct.
You've defeated yourself.
1,000,000%. So I think that's the thing. Like, do you think Rory's going up to the tee box and say, "Man, I'm going to blow it left here"? No, he's saying, "I'm going to execute this shot." And guess what? You don't always execute. And the problem is in a golf tournament, that's the beauty of golf. They'll hit it 270 times in the next 4 days. One out of those 270 might lose the tournament. That's
crazy to think about.
2 out of those 270, you're not finishing top 10. You know what I mean? It's just, that's what's beautiful about it, and that's what's so hard about it, is that over the course of 4 days, your best is needed with 99.8% execution rate. That's an impossible thing to ask, but it's the truth.
Yeah, it's wild that just it can come down to 1-2 swings like that, and you just wonder if that's sort of who you are. Can you change that? Can you adapt that style? Just interesting to sort of think about, and I guess put in play coming up with what this tournament's going to be. Chuck Sinclair tweets in, Greg, are you familiar with Green 38 at Augusta?
No.
Landrum brought up a secret green yesterday, and I'm intrigued.
Not familiar. Is it at Berkman's?
I just read the tweets. I don't.
If it's secret and Landrum knows about it, we know it's either lame or not true.
I don't know if it's either. If it's at Augusta, it's probably not lame. It's probably awesome. But I'm curious if it's at like Berkman's.
Is
Because
that like the
Berkman-
secret driving range that only members get to use during tournaments?
Champions driving range. Members only. I don't know. I don't know about Green 38. Have we looked this up?
According to golf.com, Masters 2019, Augusta has a secret green that no one knows about.
Yes, you know what this is for,
Right.
right?
So it's no longer secret.
No, I
then.
don't.
This is also not uncommon.
It looks like it's in the parking lot.
Yes, because in the event in which a section of the green on the course gets damaged or destroyed, you have to have a backup green prepared. Almost every high-level course on Earth has a backup green like this. Now, not many are sitting there in a parking lot, but with Augusta National's sub-air system, they can recreate that environment anywhere. You could put it inside, and it'd probably be just fine. You could do it hydroponic, and it'd probably be just fine. But that is there, so in the event in which a green gets damaged, they can cut out a section and replace the green on the course with a piece from that green off the course. It's not really that uncommon, to be honest with you. But the fact that it sits in the middle of what looks like a tool shed is kind of cool.
Okay. So it is there in case, and you can Google this. We'll try to tweet this out from the show's account. Golf.com has a story on it with some, I guess, Google Earth photographs where you can go zoom in and see exactly what it looks
So
like.
it's not really a secret if every golf course has one. It's just a spare, like an extra.
I think what Greg
apron?
is saying, though, is that most golf courses have a hydroponic green, and theirs is real.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I'm not saying that if they wanted to do it hydroponic, they could do it. With the technology that they have around Augusta National, they have a sub-air system that can quite literally suck the moisture out of the green so that it could be a downpour. I'm talking complete downpour, and within 10 minutes, you'd never know it rained on the greens.
So
That's how
if they had
advanced their
if they had a sinkhole on the first green tomorrow, you're telling me they just like airlift this whole thing up over there and put it down?
Yeah, basically.
Airwolf, yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be sweet.
Like the things that they can do around Augusta National are not normal.
So why
We've heard.
doesn't the stadium in Arizona have this? Because aren't they always sloshing around on that field?
Well, the stadium in Arizona, they do have a green that wanted to. They do have a.
They just roll it outside.
Yeah, they roll it outside so that it gets that natural desert sun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but every time like there's a championship game or some important game on that field, like
Which is
the
natural.
slide's always
When you played football in the
tear up.
backyard, didn't you slide around?
yeah, but it ain't no fun no more.
But they want it to be real. It's not like
Get your cleats
fake
right.
turf where you don't slide on it. This is real. I'm not sure. I would
so you
imagine
wanna
it has
play
something to
ice
do with
football
like
now.
the humidity
Okay.
or something.
All right.
I don't know why that always happens out there, but seemingly it's not just there, by the way. It's happened in Miami a bunch. It's happened in
Well,
Tampa.
Yeah.
The game Alabama against Clemson when the end zones were painted black, like those guys were sliding all over the place in that game.
So the Masters just don't want to release their secret. Let others know.
What secrets have they released? Some have been uncovered.
The,
I don't feel like they've released
Pimento
any.
cheese recipe. They let that out.
They haven't released anything. And there are things that are not in that, by the way, so that they're not going to tell you. Okay.
Like
I don't
pride.
know what's in the pimento cheese. All I know is it's pretty tasty. And I'm
really
a
good.
big pimento cheese guy, though. And I've noticed it's really the white bread. It's basically the Wonder Bread that makes it. That's really the ticket. The Wonder Bread, white bread that is just bleached white is delicious. But
Not if bleached, I would say
Yeah.
probably not. No.
I mean, it's like the whitest bread ever. Like it's
Okay, that
I've
feels
never
right.
seen
Yeah.
bread so white.
That feels right.
It's delicious. But what I would say is that the pimento cheese, it's a close call between the pimento cheese and the egg salad. 'Cause I don't eat
I'd
either
go egg
very
salad
often.
first.
Egg salads. I don't eat egg salad. Do you ever eat
It's the
egg
only
salad
place I've ever had it.
at Augusta?
Actually, I tried it one other place. I can't remember where it was, and it wasn't even close. And I'm just like, that's going to be a one place deal. Like that's just-
Really?
yeah. Augusta's the only place that I feel like it's good.
egg salad with hot sauce, like some type of Cholula or whatever, is pretty legit.
Hot sauce, okay.
Well,
Yeah. Throw a little hot sauce on there. Pimento cheese is good plain. Just leave pimento cheese as is. But the Cholula hot sauce on the egg salad rips. And I feel like in our family, we had egg salad once a year growing up, and it was around Easter. We'd get done with the eggs, and we'd make some egg salad, and it rock and roll. But I don't ever eat it other than that. So might need to get back to doing business with the egg salad because I love it. It's good.
Huh, that feels like two ends of the spectrum with egg salad and hot sauce.
Okay. Phones will be open on the other side. You get in. Let us know your thoughts on concessions at Augusta or egg salad versus pimento cheese right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Landrum vindicated today on the show.
I know. Wow. was unfamiliar with the game. I
Says
apologize.
who?
Says me. You guys said if Landrum says it, it's either lame or false. It's real. There is a green 38.
I never said that. I feel like Landrum has a good sense of the golf community. I'm trustworthy of Landrum when it comes to the golf world.
Well,
I
there's
can
one
get on board.
specifically that he is on board with. It would be Augusta National. So, John wants to chime in on the Higginbotham hotline. Masters food secrets. Okay, John, welcome in.
Good morning, fellas. How are y'all?
Great.
How are you?
I happened to hop in the truck going job site to job site and heard y'all talking about the Masters pimento cheese and egg salad. I didn't know if from the way y'all are talking, y'all didn't know it's actually made right down the road from y'all.
Really?
At Mrs. Stratton Salads makes it. I work there. I don't work there no longer, but every year they make it. It's always one of the worst times of the year because it's an incredible amount of pimento cheese and egg salad that gets made. We put it in plastic bags and 30-pound boxes and get shipped over in that quantity. And they also make the chicken finger dipping sauce and some other sauces that they use out there. But, yep, that all comes out of Mrs. Stratton Salad right here in Birmingham.
Where is that located in Birmingham? So I can stop by today.
Industrial Drive, Industrial Parkway. Bear with me just a moment.
Like part of town, maybe.
So you get off. I know you get off at the Green Springs exit, and you go off Industrial Drive back there. It's by the Joe Piper Trucking Company.
Okay. Is there like a brick and mortar? Like, can I go buy it today?
Yes, you can buy it at any Walmart.
Oh, okay. But so I don't have to buy like 30 tons of it. I can buy like.
No, they sell it in like 8-ounce cups. It's Mrs. Stratton Salads. It's been around a long time.
Yeah, I think I've seen the logo.
All made
before.
right here. Yes, you'll see their trucks driving around. They're smaller box refrigerated trucks, but they start making it literally about a month before the Masters because it's such a large quantity that has to be shipped over.
Love that.
I hope they don't try to hold egg salad for a month.
No. The egg salad, the egg salad goes out a lot later than the pimento cheese. Pimento cheese has a much longer shelf life.
Right.
Just throw a couple of preservatives in there. It'd be fine.
It'd be good. Good to go.
Yeah,
Man.
that's right.
All right, John. Great stuff.
I want to hear that.
I hope,
about it.
Yeah, I hope we didn't ruin it for her, but because we know how Augusta National is when their secrets get out. They don't like that.
Nah, should be all right.
They can't buy your plot of land, and all of a sudden you got ghosts in your house and people knocking on your door at 4 a.m. And, weird things happen. So we don't want to ruin any business for our fine folks here in Birmingham, specifically Miss Stratton. I'm gonna have to go get some today.
All right,
or should I wait till the weekend and act like I'm there, like some people do?
Now Cole's started. It took a little while, but look, Cole's starting to turn the corner on Augusta.
I'm not turning any corner. I've said multiple times. I enjoy it. I have it on. Do I sit here and pee in my pants over a guy skipping a ball over a lake for golf that doesn't count? I don't. Sorry. Forgive me for that. Do I come on the show and talk about how great of a day it is or how great of an evening it was last night for a meal that I'm never even going to see or be a part of? I'm not going to do that. Sorry. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how great a dinner was that I'm not invited to, didn't have, or was not able to partake in, and did not get to taste any of the food for.
How do you know you won't be invited?
It's a safe wager.
You don't know for sure, though.
I do.
Nah. Come on.
Unless one of my kids grows up to actually win a green jacket, in which my stance on all of it will be exactly the same. I've told you I've been, and it's incredible. It's one of the only sporting events that I have attended that exceeded expectations. Stadium, venue, actual contest, anything. It exceeded every single expectation there was. And I got lucky because my Uncle John took me the first time that I went, and he had been like the 38 consecutive years prior to that. So he knew every nook and cranny. He knew everything to show me how to walk the entire course. And so I got this tour of it from somebody that had done it. So I was lucky. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we need to start talking about it on Monday when it doesn't start until Thursday, and tell you how cool it is to walk around a building I'm never going to step foot in. So, wait till you hear about the bird's nest. Oh, it is just, it's unbelievable. Did you know the amateurs have to stay up in the crow's nest? Yeah, I've heard it for the last 40 consecutive years, every year. We get it. I got it. Okay? Understood.
Doesn't make it less cool.
I don't think it's cool at all.
What?
People go stay different places for every golf tournament, Greg. Why is it because one's upstairs somewhere and has bunk beds, it's cooler than the others?
Because it's on property. I don't know. Why do you ask me these questions? I don't know.
Because
I don't know
you're
the answer to that.
I think you're mad at me for bringing some reality to the ridiculousness that is the discussion of this tournament every year. It doesn't mean it's not cool. It doesn't mean it's not fun. But to sit there and pretend like half of white America does not go overboard with this thing every year is absolutely asinine, because they do. It's just real. It's just what it is. Sorry.
It ain't half.
Whoa. Haters in the building.
Well, listen, it's not just that part of the population anymore. Last couple of times I've seen T-Rob away from the team he was coaching for, he's wearing Masters gear.
Yeah, it's
there are a lot of folks that think this is the coolest thing on planet Earth.
It's because it's the GOAT.
Well, at least when I talked to Booger McFarland about it, he's played it. So he can sit there and tell me about like how he hit on a certain hole. Like, I don't need to hear about how much a sandwich costs. I know, because you've told me for 30 straight years. I got it. But we have to hit reset on okay, let's talk about this. When we talk about the Cotton Bowl every year, do we reset the exact same conversation every single year?
We do with the Red River Shootout.
You do. I don't.
Oh, stop it. Don't you try to pretend like you are.
Right down the 50. We're going to have
play the Iron Bowl
Crimson
every year?
on one side and Burnt Orange on the other side. Have y'all seen it? Yes, you show it on television every year. We saw it.
Do we play the Iron Bowl every year?
Yes.
Which sport?
Stop
That's
it,
a fair
John.
point. We play it multiple times. That is a fair point from John. At least, well,
give me
give
me the portion of the Iron Bowl from a concession standpoint, a cost standpoint, anything of that nature that we discuss every single year. And we reset the exact same conversation every year.
Well, Denny Dogs cost the same on Iron Bowl Saturday.
We don't do this with Falcons games. And Arthur Blank's got those prices locked in for how many years now?
What would you like for people to talk about, right? Like it's a
Falcons Saints this weekend, guys. Soft pretzels, $2.50 again.
Arthur
We don't talk
Blank
about that.
He's for the common man.
Diet Coke, $1.75 in a souvenir cup. We don't do that every Sunday.
Well, in fairness, this is the first event on the calendar.
Don't do it. Don't do it with your
Hear me
unofficial
out.
start of spring.
I'm
We don't
not
need
saying
unofficial starts of seasons.
the
That's why we
first-
have weather
It's the first start.
and a calendar.
It's the first event, and frankly, one of the few events that people care about between now and September.
That's not a me problem.
That is
There are a
you
lot of
problem.
other cool
That's a
events that people can
society
get
problem.
into.
That is a society problem. Would you rather people be tweeting about
We
how
got
the
the
Mets have
Birmingham
the best
Bulls hockey in the
bullpen?
playoffs this weekend. The Stallions are making their home debut this weekend. There's a lot of other things to care about.
I'm talking universally speaking here. I'm not talking about here in Birmingham. I know people care about the Stallions. People care about Auburn and Bama, softball, baseball, gymnastics, what have you. But for a majority of the sports-consuming population, this is one of about 3 events between now and September that people care about. Just saying.
And see, I'm getting texts right now. They're not going to stand for my master's hate. It's not hate. It's you guys need a dose of reality is what you need. Everyone needs to take a step back and look in the mirror. And like I have master's apparel. You bought some for me the 30th time you went, which was 2 years ago. But everyone needs to just take a step back and have the understanding that a lot of this conversation that is repetitive is a little bit ridiculous.
To be fair, what Cole is saying is every time when Christmas comes around, we don't talk about all the traditions of Christmas.
I don't feel like I sit here and every year repeat the exact same conversation of how great it is that my wife puts lights on our Christmas tree. Some years presents are in a bag. Some years they're wrapped. Some years Amazon doesn't get them there on time and you just get them in a cardboard box.
Wow.
It happens. Do you get the same thing every year? December 24th, midnight. I will open up my new pair of socks again. No, we don't do that.
I don't know why you're
opening day in baseball is fantastic, but do we talk about the exact same thing every opening day of what we're going to eat, how we're going to do it, where we're going to go, and all these other things that happen that none of us get to see?
Sometimes.
Aaron Judge will put his pine tar on his bat.
Oh, it stands out. Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe with that one.
This time the bat shaped like a bowling pin.
There's at least one other person out there that agrees with me. I don't know who that person is, but there's one out there that is where I am, that can enjoy this, that can watch this, that can think it's cool, but it does not have to be the end all be all, every small detail of it every single year.
Hang on.
That talks about how the wind swirls at a certain par 3 because it's been swirling there for 100 years or 136, whatever it is. But all of a sudden this year, the wind swirling at the same par 3 is something that needs to be talked about for a full day.
Oh,
we got it. It's done it every year.
No, it doesn't swirl the same every year. It's different. Every year is different.
How many times are we going to hear over the next 5 days that putting on these greens, this is like if you were putting on your dining room table. Every year. We get it. They're fast. They're fast every year. But we'll talk about it like it's never happened before.
You assume that people have been paying attention every year.
Well, what in the hell were y'all doing when you were talking about it nonstop for a week and a half if you weren't paying attention?
Hang on. There's been breaking news. Breaking news as it relates to
meter.
Augusta National. Breaking news. I can tell you now or I can tell you after the break. You just tell me when you want to find out the breaking news.
If I don't want it unless it has to do with the break of the greens at Augusta National this year, then it's not worthwhile.
It's bigger than that.
Bigger than that?
It's way bigger than that.
There's a bunker that's been expanded.
No, you can't call it a bunker.
There's new sand that's been imported from a diamond mine in West Virginia.
You can't call it a sand trap.
The sand is now going to be made from gemstones.
Diamonds, actually.
It's not sand. What is it? What is it? Beach grass?
Yeah, something like that.
Whatever.
We got to talk about that this year too.
There's
getting out of these bunkers is much different.
You can't do it. You can't talk. You need to talk about Rays Creek with reverence.
They
Cole.
actually put an extra groove on their wedge because of the diamond cut bleached sand. Takes a little bit more to get out. We'll be back with more after this. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 9:42, Wednesday, April 9th. Breaking news coming up from Greg McElroy, maybe having to do with St. Andrews, a course that we talk about, but we don't have to actually talk about it to this extent every year. However, Andrews Sports Medicine, we should talk about that way. There's a reason Auburn Athletics hand-selected Andrews Sports Medicine's Dr. Benton Inbom and Charles Pitts to serve as their team physicians. They provide the highest quality sports medicine care in an effort to keep the Tiger student-athletes safe, healthy, and competing at the highest level. If Andrews Sports Medicine is the choice for Auburn Athletics, there's no doubt they should be your family's number one choice for sports medicine and orthopedic care. Andrews Sports Medicine has 7 locations across central Alabama: Birmingham, Coleman, Gardendale, Hoover, Pelham, and Trussville. They offer same-day, next-day appointments for acute sports injuries. Visit AndrewSportsMedicine.com today to begin your journey of achieving victory over injury. What is your breaking news, Greg?
Here we go.
We're going.
New, fresh, hot off the press.
We're going.
From the Augusta Chronicle.
Green 39 has been established.
I'm imagining that the Augusta Chronicle is the local Augusta newspaper.
That works
the
one week out of the
Masters
year.
Tournament has a new menu item. A little shout out to George Thompson here for bringing this to my attention. But this has gained a lot of publicity in the last
the Augusta Chronicle, by the way.
That's what I said.
Did you really?
Anyways, many people very focused on
Masters,
gnomes and things of that nature. But
the gnomes.
when you, as a patron, decide to visit one of the concession stands, you can now buy a
I love how you talk about it
savory-
like somebody could just walk over there today and pay $5 and get in.
Hey, some people, you know,
Who?
it's not about what you know, it's who you know.
Whom?
Who does...
Why were we not talking about this Monday at 7:01, by the way?
The savory tomato pie is taking the social media world by storm
No way.
What?
because many people believed it to be an April Fool's Day prank. This is an empanada-style treat that was made available for the very first time during Sunday's Drive, Chip, and Putt National Finals. It will continue to be a popular menu item, and it goes for $3. You might think it's just your typical tomato sandwich. Ha ha ha! Think again. This is a tomato sandwich married with a Hot Pocket. It even comes in a rectangle-shaped container designed to retain heat. It's been described as a personal pizza roll.
Okay,
And the
number
container
one,
makes it easy to eat while walking.
first off, not breaking news. The course's Twitter account tweeted this on April the 1st.
Yes.
So whoever thinks it's breaking, you're behind. A Southern tradition reimagined, the handheld tomato pie makes its limited debut at the 2025 Masters Tournament. Hashtag the Masters. And it has a picture of it. Do you get all 3 of them when you buy it? Or do you just get one? By the
Just
way,
one.
I'm in. And Meg Petty, if you're listening, figure out how to make your tomato pie into this empanada type thing, because my mother-in-law's tomato pie is absolutely incredible to
Is
die
it?
for. Yes, it is
Wow.
amazing. And I want it created in this way. So, yes.
Okay.
Did you know you could have one of everything on the Masters food menu for $77?
I did not.
Okay.
$77. You get the egg salad, pimento cheese, pork barbecues, savory tomato pie, Masters Club, chicken salad on honey wheat, ham and cheese on rye, classic chicken, Masters blend, fresh brewed coffee, chicken biscuit, breakfast sandwich, blueberry muffin, fresh mixed fruit, soft drink, bottled water, fresh brewed iced tea, Coors Light, domestic beer, import beer, white wine, apple slices, chips, plain and barbecue, peanuts, Southern cheese straws, cookies, Georgia pecan caramel popcorn, and the Georgia Peach ice cream sandwich, which I actually do really want to try because I bet that thing is incredible.
You know that thing rips.
Hey, for 77, it ain't that bad.
It's not bad. That's a lot.
That's
I
a
feel
lot,
like.
right.
Yeah.
Including alcohol, that's okay.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's that you're. I mean, listen. Nobody says that they don't do that part right. However,
just-
fresh fruit has gone up 50 cents,
Ah,
and the cookies and peanuts have gone up 25
So they lied to
cents.
us.
okay.
They,
We never raised our prices, never.
they sneak them in on the things you don't talk about.
Okay.
Nobody talk about peanuts going up
Okay.
25 cents, but yep, here we are.
Unreal.
The people are
Here
mad.
you are. You finally get a new item, something new surrounding Augusta National's incredible patronage to their patrons, and you just want to belittle it.
No, I said I'd like to try it and said it sounds amazing.
I know. Of course you want to try it. You want your.
I do want to know if you just get one of them or three of them because their photograph has three.
The one for $3. $1 for $3.
Yeah, typical.
Yeah.
$1 for $3, and you know what?
Here's a lady on Live 5 getting ready to try it. Oh, it comes in the old school McDonald's apple pie case.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the best part. It comes in like a Hot Pocket container.
Those apple pies are not crispy anymore. They ruined that thing.
Oh no!
Oh
it's
gosh, you
long
still
since-
got those? Ugh.
The last time I did it was ruined. It's been a minute though.
If I'm gonna have
They're,
apple
just,
pie, I
they're
can
on the
promise
news
you
just
where it's
ripping
not
it in
gonna be
half,
from.
taking bites. I love it. I thought you couldn't
I
have
feel-
cameras in there.
Oh boy.
Now, you can on the practice rounds.
Got it.
Ah.
Noted.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but hey, look at that. Augusta National. Totally reinventing the experience for the consumer. You can have their traditionals, but they'll bring in something extra savory just for you. And describe it as such.
Marshall Gilliam tweets in, lucky enough to have been everywhere in the clubhouse and locker area, etc. Got to caddy for my daughter in the Augusta Women's Am, and they had same access as regular players inside the ropes and eating in the place. They have the dinner was crazy stuff at Greg McElroy. Why didn't he tag me in there?
I guess 'cause
Gosh,
you don't
what's
think-
better
you
than
don't-
Augusta?
Oh no.
you
What's
you don't
better than
care.
Augusta? You tell me right now. You can
Brian
just cancel
Denny,
football
Jordan Hare,
forever.
Tiger
cancel
Stadium,
football
Nate
forever.
Williams,
Give me
Bryant,
Augusta.
William,
I say
Willie
Augusta.
B,
Nayland.
Neyland Stadium,
DKR.
Rose Bowl. I can keep going.
No.
Alamo Bowl.
Yeah.
Only thing better than Augusta.
Well, that's not a stadium. It's Alamo Dome.
Yeah, no, the
technically.
Dome.
But yeah.
Kroger Field.
Yeah.
Oh, you know Kroger.
They've redone it. It's nice.
Protective.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why? Just because
Tommy
you love-
Wyndham tweets in, nobody cares about the Stallions. I disagree.
Giddy up.
When I was working their game 2 weeks ago, I cared. So just John tweets in, what is wrong with Cole this morning? So much anger for nothing. Auburn went to the Final Four. He should be happy. Auburn lost in the Final Four.
See?
Right. What was
So-
the
He's
result?
been on
Again,
edge this
by the
week.
way,
He's been on edge this
Your
week. You got to
half
acknowledge that.
cup full philosophy is not
Lost
for me.
again.
Here's the
in
best
Final
part.
Four.
Well, not necessarily the best part, but Cole he's had very little sleep there for a couple days in a row. Had to stay up late on Monday night. Had to do a game this past weekend.
It was cold.
Auburn lost
T-ball
on
and
Saturday.
52
he flew out
degree
first
weather
thing in
last
the
night.
morning on Sunday.
Dogs
It's
are dumping
freezing
on his
cold
front
outside.
porch or
Dogs
whatever.
pooped on his
Yeah.
corner.
Like,
I mean,
On the
Cole's
sidewalk,
had
by
a
the
tough
way.
run, guys. And to add insult to injury, he has to watch golf amongst friends here on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I am actually quite amazed. I used to have a lot of invitations, Cole.
Who
to
says
kind
I
of-
have to watch golf with
Oh,
anyone?
you are going to watch it and like it. And I'm
When?
going to make you watch it. I don't care if we have to sit there
Make me
Clockwork
come to
Orange
your house
style.
to watch golf?
I'm going to go into your house and turn it on.
Watch the dog.
I'll go
poop.
over
You might
there.
Step on it on the way.
And
in.
I'll let my dog poop in your yard while where we're waiting outside while I turn on the TV. I don't care. You're watching. And you're going to like it. And it's going to be fantastic. But
Michael Carlisle tweets in, Cole is 100% in the minority in this topic.
Thank
no,
you.
No. There are people in the text line saying otherwise. They're saying you're spot on.
oh, God. Yeah, they're all O-line coaches. Every one of them.
You saying they're
Every
not?
single person
Great.
texting in saying they don't like Augusta is
So
like,
good.
it's because it gets in the way of us doing our cone drills.
Ain't enough contact. Ain't no
Hey,
contact.
until I see Scotty Scheffler pushing a dang sled, I don't care. I don't care about knitting.
Soft.
That's the problem. That's the problem right there. Is Cole's friends are all O-line coaches, and they don't want to lean into the artistry of Augusta National.
Never hated it. Never said that the actual tournament's bad. Just that the conversation around it is way too much. There's 1 week every year that 90% of America is a Colin Morikawa expert.
Come on, you've
And
been
we are living
dialing
in that
the
week
Colin
right now.
Morikawa? Why are you so down on Colin?
That Fred Couples' short game is known by everyone.
Oh boy, here we go.
Everybody sing the tape.
He is going in the hole, ladies and gentlemen. It was a good
Who you got
run.
in your master's pool, huh? None of y'all know any of it.
You guys going to the Calcutta this week? Come on. Why are you so down on it? Just embrace the fact that you love golf, and you can't admit it because you feel like you'll lose some hard points amongst your line friends.
I promise you, that is the least
Just
of my
admit it.
concerns.
Just admit it. If that's why, dude, we're here for you. You can but
First
I like
off, if I
O-line
ever-
play fine. I think
If I'm
O-line
ever
plays
measuring
fine.
hard points, we all got a lot of problems anyway. but we should probably come back after that. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Quickly, Greg, tell our listeners about Polar Bear Services.
Love Polar Bear Services. Right now, your system's being put to the test. Running the heat at night, running the AC during the day. It's a challenge, and it's only going to get more difficult from this point forward. Make sure you call Polar Bear Services today to get your whole system tune-up, because we know the unpredictable weather is en route, but we know hot weather's coming as soon as humanly possible. Remember, if you have a problem with your electrical, they can do electrical work. They can do plumbing as well. Heat or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 205-497-BEAR. That's 497-BEAR.
Do we have to get our picks in today, or can we wait till tomorrow, even though the tournament will start while we're on air?
We'll go tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. right at the gate.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
I'll take Colin.
Oh, hey, there he is, a Como pro. Let's ride.
It's amazing. All right. I got to go read some of those stimp meters tonight, see the angles.
So
you should see how Colin's been putting, man.
How's the swirling wind?
Everybody's on Molinari, Cole. You can tail that one.
Molinari, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
got it.
Sleeper.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or Tom Watson. He's doing the ceremonial tee shot. That's it, but he's got a chance.
I got to see how the ball skips across the pond before I make my pick.